we'll do it to the okay, and I'm gonna share screen. Share screen, share screen, share screen. Okay.
Is Lily not coming?
Oh, I don't
Lily's also listening to the Vedic conference, so I doubt whether she will join.
Okay.
The next lecture starts at 3:30.
Okay.
So
she's probably taking a little break.
Listening to.
Okay. Well remembered, Debbie. My brain is so scrambled. I forgot. Okay. Right. So can you all see the NASA website?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So what this is, when I'm looking for like those pictures of the planets and information about the planets, I head off to NASA because they've got tons and tons of stuff. They've got a whole range of websites. They've got lots of fabulous stuff. So this is just the top 10 Pluto pictures, and we're going to go have a look at them. So the first one, there is actually water on Pluto. So I found that quite interesting, and that there will be an image showing all the various chemicals that they've detected. And this is from a thing called the New Horizons. These pictures were taken by New Horizons when it flew past Pluto. Okay, so the first thing is there are glacial flows, vast glacial flows on Pluto. And then there is a jagged icy shoreline and snowy pits. So, it's quite a fascinating, quite a pitted planet. And then normally they get pitted from asteroids and things. Then if the planet doesn't have a big atmosphere, it can get pitted. This is a picture of the blue skies around Pluto obviously the sun's on the other side of Pluto, and you've just got this blue sort of sky halo around the planet. Charon is some other Pluto-like planet. As Debbie was saying, Pluto is a tiny little planet. It's smaller than some of the moons of Saturn. So, but dynamite comes in small packages, and it certainly seems to be there in so many signatures. So it's worth paying attention to. I don't know anything about Charon other than this picture, and haven't really had time to find out. Obviously, there's so much you want to know, but slowly. This is just another image of Pluto taken on from the side. There you can see it's quite textured. It's got depressions. It's got raised bits. And this is Charon and Pluto, but NASA has enhanced the colors. This is Pluto in the front, because you'll see in a moment. There's what they call a heart sort of terrain area on Pluto. They call it the strange snakeskin terrain. So this is an area, you can see the fissures, you can see that's that kind of ripply snakeskinny kind of thing going on there. Here, this is the heart of Pluto, and that's where you saw those two planets together. The one in the front had this hearty thing on it. For me, it kind of looks almost a bit like a bird with a bit of a tail going on here. I don't quite see. I mean, I can sort of see the heart, but if I just look at it quickly, I think of a bird more than a heart. Okay, and then Pluto also has snow-capped mountains. So they've taken this tiny little bit and they've blown it up over here, and there's the snow on the caps of the mountains. And then here, this is a thermographic image with the purple being the cold snow bit. Here they're showing you what Pluto is made up of. So CH4, to my best remembrance of the chemistry I studied, is methane. Not a very friendly chemical. N2 is nitrogen. So this is the distribution. So they would, put it through various scanning filters to be able to do this clever thing. CO is carbon monoxide. That's the stuff that comes out of car exhaust, and that's not friendly at all. We wouldn't survive well with methane or carbon dioxide. And H2O, of course, is our beloved water that we need to thrive. So that's just a quick snippet. What do you ladies think of that? Do you find it quite fascinating, or what do you think?
Is the water in ice form? Is the
I would
water
guess,
frozen?
I would guess, Debbie. Hey, I think you're right. I think it's frozen because I think it's pretty cold out there where Pluto is. I don't quote me on it, but I would put my money on it being frozen. Yeah.
And the red background of the white mountains against the red background, is that red background just NASA's coloring?
I would guess, yes, because when they did those two, the care on Pluto, they said it was enhanced coloring, and they often do that so that it's easier for us as lay people to kind of see what's going on and not just sort of a smudge of grays. Any other comments?
It's quite interesting, Karen. I like the facts on the planet. It's quite interesting.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yes.
I don't see why. In the old days, the astronomy and the astrology was all done together, and I don't see why we can't bring it back. We don't have to be astrophysicists. That's hectic stuff. The maths and the physics is hectic,
Yes.
but we can know a little bit, and the pickies are fabulous.
Yes. No.
Okay,
This was
so
lovely. Thank you.
cool.
You know, it's enough for me also regarding Pluto. I've always considered him as a planet because he is pulled in to, you know, with the gravity, he comes into the ecliptic, and he's got his moons and everything. And I've always considered him a planet, and he looks like a bloody planet too. I mean, hello, perfectly round like a planet.
He does indeed. And he's in our signatures. I mean, I can't tell you how many signatures that I've done. He's there. He's definitely there. So yeah.
Wrongly.
Sharon is Pluto's moon.
Ah, and the moon is as big as Pluto. How about that?
Sharon, wow, what a beautiful, wow.
It's named after the boatman who ferried the souls of the dead across the river Styx.
Okay.
Because Pluto is the god of the underworld.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so our next little thing is a video. This is Bernadette Brady doing what she calls visual astrology. I've taken an excerpt because this is 27 minutes long or something like that. So we're going from about 5 minutes. She's got a series. They're free. They were from a conference that she did in the Astrological Association of Great Britain in York. It was one of their conferences. And this is what she researched for 5 years, which was bringing the sky back into the astrology. And the bit that I've missed out is like how she explains how they used to do charts, and then the astrologers got too excited or more excited about the geometry of the aspects and forgot about the sky. So she's all for bringing the sky back. And we'll let her do the talking, and then we'll have a little chatty.
Maybe we've just got to let go of it a little bit. So let's go back to basics. Right? This is tonight. This is about midnight tonight. This is Saturn rising tonight. So we've got Saturn rising up here along on the horizon. It's about midnight. The sun's down there on the IC. Here's the eclipse thundering in a few hours before the eclipse. And we've got Mars above the horizon. These two planets would not be visible, but they are above the horizon. This is basics. What are we actually looking at? What are we trying to chart? What are we trying to three-dimensional map representing something else? But what's happened is we've got so used to the map, we've forgot that it is just a map. It's not the territory, it is a map. If we think this is all, then it's like looking at a map of New York and thinking you've been there because you're looking at the map. The map is not New York, is it, Madeline? No, right? There's a lot more to New York than just the road map. As we can say that about London, we can say that about anywhere. This is a map. It is not the territory. That's the important thing to understand. It's an extremely good map. I love horoscopic astrology. So you know, it's fantastic. But let's not try and make the map do absolutely everything. So what is the map's good at this? What is the map trying to represent? It's trying to represent this. And this is the sky for that map. This is the sky for that exact same moment here in York. This happens tonight. And here we have Saturn about to rise. This is the horizon line here. So the black area is below the horizon. The dark blue is above the horizon. So this is the horizon line. This white line is the ecliptic. So where the ecliptic cuts the horizon in the east is the ascendant. So that's the ascendant that we know. Here's Saturn below the ascendant in the first house. Here's Mars above the ascendant, up higher in the chart. And we see Mars is, hang on, my technology just, every now and again it does this. I'm just trying to show you the chart again. But you see Mars is up there in Taurus, Saturn below the ascendant. And there we have it there, up there above the horizon line, and Saturn below the ascendant. So is everybody happy? Have you got your bearings in looking at that? A lot of astrologers don't actually have an eye for the sky. And so this is what the map is trying to do. And here we see Orion rising. Here we have the constellation of Taurus and Mars amongst the stars of Taurus. I'm not talking sidereally. I'm not talking tropical zodiac. I'm simply talking that it's amongst the stars of Taurus. And Saturn amongst the stars of Cancer. So what we're doing with our map is we're mapping this. And we have to map it in a two-dimensional way. And all we're doing is that we're taking the ecliptic and we're making that our rim here. If you can imagine that this, the chart, is a CD disc, and you take the CD disc off that page, turn it on its side and slide it into this orb. And so you're looking at just the rim of it. Here's the rim here. And you're looking at just the rim there, it's slid in. And you're seeing the Saturn there and the Mars there. You're looking at the chart from that rim, from side on. And then we see the whole sky. And we see what it's trying to represent. But in doing that, in creating the horoscope, that became a nightmare because they couldn't represent all of this on this two-dimensional framework. And we get the development of the horoscope. So they had to make a slight sacrifice in drawing this map. They had to lose a little bit of the detail of New York. Do you know that? They had to strip it down to make it workable. So they decided to do this. This is the strip down. This is what got lost, the sky. So really, really good with the ecliptic, really good with the planets, really good with the geometry in terms of the angles, the horizon, the intersection, the ascendant, the MC, which is the point of the culmination. I haven't got the great lines of longitude on there that will cross through there. So maintaining the angles of the sky, but having to lose the rest because it couldn't be represented on the map. Somewhere along the line, someone got guilty about that, right? And indeed, Ptolemy very nicely and very conveniently, in trying to work out the rates of precession, had tabulated a whole lot of stars into ecliptical degrees. And he did that in his Almagest, his great work. He didn't do it in his Tetrabiblos, which is his astrology book. What happened is that we put the stars back into our system, but we had no way of representing them in our map unless we could get them onto the ecliptic. And so what we did is we took the poles, and we only actually took the poles of the equator from about the 13th century onward. They used to use the poles of the ecliptic, which are actually about here. But we took the poles of the equator, we drew lines of longitude down between, or from the North Pole to the South Pole, and we would use those lines to project stars onto the ecliptic. So like Capella here, if you run it down an arc parallel to that line, it would cut the ecliptic about here. And we would say that Capella was in so many degrees of Gemini. We would say Aldebaran here projected back so many degrees of Gemini. We do the same with Betelgeuse up to about 0 degrees of Cancer. Procyon up there, Canopus down here in the south, projected all the way back up here into early degrees of Cancer. And that way we could actually put all of these stars onto our rim of our map. Yes. And project it back down to where they cut the ecliptic. Now, when we do that, we're actually seeing the stars as individual points, and we're disconnecting them from their constellations. So let's look at that. Here's the same sky again, but just with all the stars and the constellations on. This is still the same thing, Saturn rising here, and there's Mars. So what I'm actually saying is that this constellation here, Orion, the different stars in it are broken up and projected back up onto the ecliptic. And you can see that they're going to mix up with the stars of this constellation and the stars of that constellation. They're going to be mixed together along the ecliptic. They're going to be dissected and put into a blender. And here we have the constellation of Orion. Here it's there. There's an image of it. This is a magnificent Bronze Age piece of mythology of a conquering warrior. It wrapped up in Orion is all things to do with the hero. This is our first hero. This is a Gilgamesh figure. This is the idea of the warrior who conquers, and this is the first warrior who dies and goes into the underworld. He's the very first one. To the Egyptians, he was God. He was also the pharaoh. He didn't symbolize God. He wasn't an image of God. He was God. And we're going to mix that. We're going to disregard all of that human mythology from that constellation. Just disregard it. Break it up into stars and actually project it back up here and mix it up with this great bull, this great and glorious bull, which is even older than Orion. We don't know where the bull comes from. It is there, right, as a great bull. Once you see the bull in the sky, you will always see the bull in the sky. He is huge. He is powerful. He knocks you off your feet on a clear night. He is so awesome in the sky. He is charging. The story, my story here, is that the conquering hero comes and finally fights the bull, the great bull. This is one of the reasons he's such a hero. He fights the bull and conquers the bull. But we're mixing all of Orion's mythology with the mythology of Taurus. And I'm not talking about the zodiac sign Taurus now. I'm not, you know, on everything we think about Taurus. I'm talking about the constellation of the great bull. But just as we mix Orion with that, there's this constellation here, Perseus, and we can see that his stars are going to be mixed up with the bull as well. And here's Perseus here, another great hero. He carries Argol, the star Argol, in his hand. But this constellation is even older than these. This is the transition between the Neolithic and the Paleolithic, sorry, the Paleolithic to the Neolithic. This is the beginning of the concept of sovereignty in the whole psyche of humanity. And he is approaching Andromeda here, who is on her back with her legs apart. And he carries a large sword erect in front of him. I'll let you fill in the obvious sky story, which is being told. It's a story of human fertility and of procreation. And this is the prince and that's the princess. And further over here, that's out of sight, is the king and the queen. This is the royal family. Such a deep thing inside us about the marriage of two young people, because they represent not only their own happiness, but they represent the fertility of humanity, don't they? We all get moved by two young people happily married or whatever. So if we project Perseus' stars down onto the ecliptic via this method, mix them with the bull, mix them with Orion, we're scrambling things. And to make it worse, there's this beautiful constellation that runs all the way down to the South Pole, Eridanus, the river, angling through the sky. And you can see that all of its stars are going to be scrambled onto the ecliptic as well, mixed up with these. So we have Eridanus, the river, here, starting from the feet of Orion, going all the way past Cetus the whale, which we'll talk more about. The sea monster really is not a whale. Right down to the Phoenix here in the South Pole, which is just around this area on the image. So we're taking all of that imagery and we're scrambling it. And the only way we can therefore handle it is to ignore all of that human mythology. And I don't think it's right as astrologers that we do that. I think one of the things I think we all agree with is the myths that we have been placing in the sky for the last 300,000 years, and that's what they estimate, that there is some value there, that we have a link to that. We are born from this. So What can we do? Was there another way of doing this? Can we work with these stars and these stories with our maps, with our charts, in a way that is respectful of these different voices without causing them to be scrambled and to walk along the pathway of the sun, because that's what it is. There was. This finishes the first part of this lecture, which is just...
Okay, so basically that is just, there's four lectures, but what I wanted to show you was how she is bringing the sky back into astrology. She calls it the visual astrology. I think it's magical. And yeah, so that's where the patterns that we're using in Solar Fire, she would have written the code for that. She did write a whole program, which I've got, but it runs in DOS, and so it won't even run on our modern machines. I had to get a friend's laptop that she'd thrown out that barely worked to work it. I've still got it somewhere, but I'm not sure it would even switch on anymore. It's very old now. So I'm just delighted that the parents are in there, and then these wonderful lectures are free. They are on YouTube, and I will send you the link. And once you've got the link to the one, you can just Google it also. So any thoughts, any comments? I'm interested to hear.
Fascinating video, Karen. Really great.
Ah.
Oh, I've got to go.
Yes,
So
Karen, thank you.
sorry, I'll
Cheers,
listen to the recording.
For sure.
Bye. Thanks
Bye.
again for the course. It was lovely.
Okay, cool. Anyone else?
I love this, Karen.
Isn't it beautiful?
I enjoyed yes, I enjoyed because when I look up this figure out is where and
Yeah.
and I don't generally get it right. So it's nice to know and nice to
Nice to see it, hey? Because I can't see the patterns in the sky very easily myself. You can get apps.
Stellarium. You can get Stellarium, and it's
Yeah.
free. Stellarium
Okay.
is free.
I must get that.
And
Where do we get it from, Debbie?
if you search Stellarium, it's Stellarium.
Yes.
You can download it from their site, and they're very good about maintaining it. And you can see these kinds of pictures for our part of the sky.
Awesome.
Stellarium, but also I noticed in Solar Fire, there's a drop-down menu that says somewhere along there Stellarium.
Yes, yes.
And I think it connects you to Stellarium, but I don't know if you have to. But before I had Solar Fire, I downloaded Stellarium, because then you can look at what's rising in your particular exact place.
Brilliant.
But you enter your coordinates or whatever, or your city or whatever. So you can actually look at the sky as it looks to you at night in your area.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant.
These stories of the fixed stars are used quite a lot when I studied with what's our teacher's name, Debbie? Christopher Warnock.
Warnock.
Yeah, Warnock, and he actually in his studies is a hell of a lot from the Israeli 16th, even earlier Alberini astrologers using these stars in magic astrology. So that's interesting to see it like this. And when we were studying, we went to the what's it called? I've just gone mad crazy.
Planetarium.
The planetarium, and the lady there was fantastic. She actually sometimes lectured at my husband's astronomy group, because they were just amateur astronomers. Awesome. And she did one for astrologers to show us exactly this picture, but through the planetarium on our side. It was fantastic.
Awesome. That's such a fabulous thing to do. Yes, I love it. Love it, love it. Okay, so from here, we're going to go to a short video, much shorter than that. And this is Indian lady explaining the different zodiacs, and she does it visually. And so it's just, I loved it. I've watched it, I can't tell you how many times, to try and get into my head sidereal and tropical. And when she talks tropical, she's talking northern tropical. She doesn't define it like that, but she definitely is talking northern tropical. So let's head in here and see what you people think.
This is our Milky Way galaxy. It contains hundreds of billions of stars. Whole galaxy revolves around its center. This center of galaxy is called Vishnunavi in Vedic terms. Our solar system is located here. If we zoom in on the solar system, we find Earth along with other planets revolving around the sun. The basic principle of astrology is that it tries to study the locations of the planets with respect to the Earth at a particular instant and study their effect. To understand the locations of different planets, we need to define the locations of the planets with reference to something. One easy way to define the locations of planets is to divide the sky into different sectors like so, and to study in which sector each planet lies in the given moment. For example, here we can say the Sun is in sector A and Mars is in sector B. Now, the natural question arises, in how many sectors do we divide the sky, and also how do we orient our division? Depending on orientation, the planets can be in different sectors. So we need a basis for this division. This basis is where the major difference of Hindu astrology and Western astrology lies. They base their divisions on different principles. Let's at first look at how Hindus do their divisions. Hindu division of the sky is based on the position of the stars. Far from the Earth, there are billions and billions of stars. Only a fraction of them is visible from Earth. Out of these visible stars, we have used our imagination and drawn imaginary shapes in some of them. These are called constellations. There are 12 such constellations around the Earth, which lie more or less uniformly on a circle. The English names are respectively Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. These constellations are the main basis for Hindu zodiac. These divide the sky into 12 sectors, and the sectors are known by the names of these respective constellations. Since these zodiacs of Hindu astrology are defined in relation to the stars, it's also called sidereal zodiac. Now, let's see how the zodiac of Western astrology is defined. The Western zodiac is based on the position of the sun and not on distant stars. Let's see how it is defined. The Earth revolves around the sun in an elliptical orbit. There are 4 distinct points on the orbit: the winter solstice, the summer solstice, the spring equinox, the fall equinox. The winter solstice is the point on the orbit when the hemisphere of the Earth has the longest night, and the summer solstice is when the hemisphere has the longest day. 2 equinoxes are the points where the Earth has equal day and night. One of these occurs in March, and it's called spring equinox, and the other occurs in September, which is called fall equinox. Now, in the Western astrology, the zodiac is defined such that when the Earth is on the spring equinox, the center of the sun is in 0 degrees Aries. From this point, 12 zodiacs, each of 30 degrees, are drawn. Their names are similar to that of Hindu astrology. Because of its definition from the sun, it's called tropical zodiac. Now, one of the interesting things about Western zodiac is that the positions of the spring equinox is not fixed and gradually moves along the orbit. This phenomena is called the precession of the equinoxes. This precession occurs due to many factors like the combined gravitational effects of the sun and moon, and also the slow rotation of the axis of the Earth. So, as you can see, over time, when the equinox point moves along the orbit, the orientation of the zodiac itself changes. The position of 0° Aries changes over time. This can be understood with the help of a diagram. Here, the outer circle represents the Hindu zodiac, which is defined from fixed stars and is sidereal. This inner circle represents the Western zodiac and is defined from the equinoxes and solstices. As time progresses, the sidereal zodiac is relatively fixed, while the tropical zodiac keeps precessing. Hence, over time, these two zodiacs don't agree with each other. This difference between the angles of these two zodiacs is called Ayan Amsa. At present, as of 2020, the Ayan Amsa is between 22 to 25 degrees. These two zodiacs were perfectly aligned with each other many hundred years ago, somewhere between 200 to 550 AD. The exact date is unknown, but there are different systems that predict different starting points. Some of the systems are Lahiri system, which assumes the starting point on 285 AD. B.P. Raman, who places it on 397 AD. Sri Yukteswar, who assumes it on 499 AD. According to Lahiri, the Ayan Amsa is about 24.1425 degrees. The B.P. Raman system sets it at 22.698 degrees, and Sri Yukteswar sets it at about 22.81 degrees. The government of India has sanctioned Lahiri Ayan Amsa as a standard, and it is the most popular among the Vedic astrologers, but other systems are in use too. On average, the Western zodiac has precession rate of about 1 degree in 72 years, and again, in about 26,000 years, the zodiac will align once again perfectly. Unlike Western zodiac, the Hindu zodiac is relatively fixed and it maintains its relationship with distant stars. It preserves its alignment with the center of galaxy. Center of the galaxy is very important in Vedic astrology. It is called Brahman, the creative force, or Vishnu Navi, which is the navel of Vishnu, or the galactic center in scientific language. It emanates the light which is radiated and transmitted by the planets of the solar system. The galactic center also determines life and intelligence on Earth. Hindu zodiac always maintains its orientation such that the galactic center is located in the lunar constellation or nakshatra called Mula, meaning the root or source. In this sense, we can say that Hindu zodiac maintains its relationship with the whole cosmos, and hence it is also cosmic astrology. In contrast, Western astrology only maintains its relationship with the sun through equinoxes, hence it is called solar astrology.
Okay, so that's that. Any comments, any questions? As I say, I watch that a lot because I have to, it's quite a thing to get one's head around all these different zodiacs. I find them fascinating, but still.
You get Western sidereal astrology as well.
Yes, yes.
Kenneth Bowser wrote the book on Western sidereal astrology. I haven't gone into it or looked into it a lot, but I would rather approach the cosmological side of astrology from the Western viewpoint, because you have to learn so much new stuff, extra stuff, different names, different dates, and different ways of seeing. And perhaps it's just because I'm still a relatively new astrologer, but I would rather look at Western sidereal astrology if I was going to look at it.
Yes.
But also the thing that I wanted to do is to look at, so if, for instance, you want to study the sky at the date of the founding of Baghdad, you would go to Stellarium and you would put in Baghdad's coordinates, and then you could actually see what the ancient astrologers saw when they were electing Baghdad's chart, because Baghdad's one of the few cities in the world that has a birth chart that's reliable.
Oh, wow,
So,
that's amazing.
yeah, because the astrologers determined the time for when it should be founded, because that's why I'm so interested in the Arabian astrologers. It was Norbakht, but he was assisted. He was assisted by, I think, I can't remember if it was Abu Marsha, but he was assisted by a number of reputable Arabian astrologers to determine the date of the foundation of Baghdad.
Fantastic.
So that's why I'm so interested in Stellarium, because I do accept what Bernadette Brady says about the visual aspects of astrology. And I think that Western astrologers can still incorporate the stars into their readings and things, especially if they use, if they actually go and look at the sky at the time and for the date and in the place when they're studying it. Exactly.
And as a quick thing, those parents are incredibly helpful, because that the parents are looking at the sky.
Yes.
So
I don't necessarily agree with all of Brady's interpretations of the star.
Yes.
No.
But there are other sources that I've been busy excavating, and I told you about my book by Johann Lichteneggen, the Dutch astrologer. So I mean, I don't want to have to learn Sanskrit and a whole new way of thinking in order to do my astrology.
Indeed. And you know what? I've started, because I've tried, for natal, I use now sidereal. And so what I do is I draw a round chart, because that's a chart that I was trained to read by Rod and Noel Till and my other teacher. I've only been trained on round charts, and I use whole sign. And at the moment I'm using the Raman. I was using Lahiri, but now I'm moving to Raman. You know, it's a slight difference. It's not hectically huge. And I've put all my clients, even the clients that I started on tropical, I've put them onto sidereal, and I promise you the quality, this is my experience, the quality of the readings when I've done that reading, they just go, you know, well, as I'm doing it, because I'm a very I'm interactive, so I always, you know, ask them, like, and I can just see it's so resonant when I read that chart more so. So for me, like, so yeah, I've made my decision, and I'm going that route, but I cannot read these charts. So I've got this example chart. I drew Carolyn Egan's chart. This is a program that Nathan, in his school that he belongs to, they have a programmer, and the programmer has written this particular program that you're looking at here for their teacher. And their Ayanamsa is, there's so much, as you say, Debbie, it's like a whole new world out there. But their Ayanamsa is 22 degrees 59 in 1939, because Carolyn Egan was born in 1939. So it's the closest to Raman. So after doing the Lahiri, I'm now doing the Raman. So yeah, there's a lot to it, hey? But for me, it's interesting. I do, you know, I follow an Eastern mystic spiritual path. So what is actually mystic? It's not necessarily Eastern, but a lot of the knowledge has been retained in the East. It's everywhere, because you find it in Christian mysticism, there's Judaic mysticism, there's Taoist mysticism, and all of them say the same thing. So, but my teacher happens to be Indian, so therefore a lot of our literature has come from the Persian and from the Persian mystics like Rumi and Hafiz and all those, and then also the Vedic mystics. I mean, we've got, I don't know, can't tell you, 60 books that they've translated and interpret, you know, like telling us how it all works. Got a whole encyclopedia of mystic things, and it's like they've got a lot of scholars. Actually, where the center is in the Punjab, they've got a spiritual university, and they've got the spiritual literature from all over the whole world. And I've tried to like understand some of the Jewish mysticism, and that's quite hectic as well, I tell you, quite complex. It's a whole world, which is fascinating. So yeah, so for me, I'm drawn to know more, and I've been trying to learn Sanskrit for 10 years. So like I've decided that's it. I'm going to learn Sanskrit now. So why not? So yeah, but yeah, so for sure. And what Bowser said in the book, because I that's where I started. I read his book, and then I did my chart, my husband's chart, all my friends' charts, using the Western sidereal. He uses the solar fire has the Ayanamsa that they use. It's even greater than the Lahiri. It's like 25 degrees. It's in there. I forget its name. It's a double barrel name, but you'll find the name in the book, and you can set it. So you just go whole sign, and that the nice thing about whole sign, you don't have these 5-degree rules, and it's and you think, oh my goodness, you're losing so much information, but actually it just works. I don't know how to say it. I just find. I mean, I'm not an advocate for anything. I'm just saying, for me personally, I absolutely love it. So, and I find it so much richer. I don't know, somehow the charts, and of course it's an individual thing because the astrologer is reading the chart. So, but for me, I can read more with the sidereal charts for people. So that's my decision. I'm going to do, even in mundane, I actually did I'm trying to make a video of it. I did a talk called Navigating the 2020s Astrologically. And I used the sidereal zodiac for it. And I just found that made sense to me. So the beautiful thing about that, because you're doing a whole world, you don't have to keep flipping the zodiacs around. And you've got one zodiac that applies to the entire world. So that also for me is a big draw card for mundane, because I don't want to keep flipping things around. For the weather, the weather is definitely a solar, lunar, earth thing. And therefore that tropical zodiac definitely works. It's worked beautifully in weather astrology for 2000 years. So I'm very happy to do all that flipping around and yeah, so that's me waffling on. Anybody else got any other comments, or did you find it fascinating to see how the two zodiac, that's where the ages come from, that where the inner wheel rotates through that outer wheel, that is where the age of Taurus, Aries, and it goes backwards. So it goes from the end of Aries to the start of Aries, and then it went into Pisces around about that date that they keep quoting. That is the date that the start of the age of Pisces, which is somewhere between 200 and 500 BCE. No, BC. No, BCE, before the current era.
Before Common Era, BCE.
Okay. Cool. So now the big is like, are we in Aquarius? And if you take that 72 degrees, 1 degree for 72 years, if you take that thing through the whole zodiac, you get like 2,100 years. So if you're going to, let's take the earliest date, it's 200 odd BCE. You add 2,100 to that, you're going to get 2,300. So we're kind of nowhere near the age of Aquarius. We're kind of in that transition zone, because I mean it's a long thing. Because in the Vedic time units, they like put a 10% on either side to get those big shifts on these very large.
I guess that could be the 5-degree rule.
Well, it's a 10%. So it's 5 degrees.
10-degree rule.
You see 5 on 300, 5 on 30 is a 6. So
Okay.
that's even a bit more. So, but
Mm.
they like the 10, but you know, like you say, we in that, but we're not in the age of Aquarius yet, because, you know, we're still in that transition zone. Like, you know, we're not actually officially in summer yet. That's only going to happen when we hit like the 21st of December. And
Okay.
then we're on that solstice, and then we cardinal summer. So yeah, so just for interest sake, I just wanted to show you this. This is free. He has different levels. So if you want to ever play with a really nice Vedic program, the thing with a free chart, the free thing is you can save 5 charts. So then for $10 a year, then you can save your charts, but you can't print them. And then for, I don't know, $100 a year, you can save and print. So I'm on the $10 a year plan at the moment, because I'm still playing. And SolarFire can do some of it, but all these fancy calculations, SolarFire definitely doesn't do. So I just wanted to show you her chart here. I'm going to show you her chart in SolarFire. This is her chart here. Using a Western sidereal. So I've used whole sign and Raman as the thing. So yeah, so instead of Placidus, you go whole sign, and instead of for the zodiac, you go Raman. And then, or you can, there's a double barrel name, which is what Kenneth Bowser uses, or there's Lahiri and so on. So here is old Caroline by sidereal. She has the sun in Taurus in the 5th house. She has the moon in Libra up here in the 10th house. Her 10th house is ruled by Venus, which we find over here in the 4th house. Let's just mind all the stuff out the way. She has Capricorn rising with Mars in Capricorn. So highly dignified Mars. She was a mover and a shaker. She got things done. She was very professional. Like, she was, to me, the little that I knew of her, she was very much about being very, very responsible. She wanted to have a good name attached to her school, and to, you know, to whatever she did. Like when she predicted weddings, she had like 99 to 100% accuracy and all that kind of thing. She also has Jupiter in Pisces in the 3rd house, which is very communicative and so on. So yeah, so that's her little chart in SolarFire. And then if we head off to, now I have to find my way back here. This over here, okay, so you enter all the stuff there. This is what's called a South Indian chart, and these are my favorite kind of charts, because in the South Indian chart, the zodiac doesn't move. So what happens is Aries is always this block. So it goes Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and then it starts again. Cancer, Leo, what's the next one? Virgo. And then it's Libra, Scorpio. What's this one? Sagittarius. And then here's her ascendant in Capricorn. So there's often in the Vedic charts, they'll put a line through the ascendant to show you where it is. So there is Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and there's her Jupiter. So, and I'm starting to be able to read these. You also get that diamond chart, which Lily also uses. If you look in the Lily book, you'll see that sort of diamond shaped chart. I cannot read those charts. I struggle myself to death with them.
Well, Robert Azala made us do all our work on those charts.
Oh,
All of our work. Yeah, and so I read them very well, very easily. They're the opposite way to these. Of course, they go anti-clockwise, just like a normal chart in my view goes.
Yeah. So those I called them North Indian. Then I spoke to Nathan, and he said, actually, they're not North Indian. They come from the Arabic astrology, and they were imported because the Arabic Mughal people invaded India. And so they aren't Indian charts, those diamond charts.
No, they're not. Robert Zoller, he knew Sanskrit, and he found a lot of his work in Persia, in the Arabian countries, also in Israel. And that's where he found the images of these charts in Egypt as well.
Wow.
And this is how they drew the charts.
Yes.
Of course, William Lilly drew them with his Taurian license with pretty smiling faces, and but so he's most of his sort of tropical zodiac astrology is tropical Western zodiac astrology from way before BCE, where they used it in the Arabian states, way before Indian astrology and all of that. And
that's
so
debatable. That's
debatable.
Because I've been up beyond Rishikesh.
Okay.
They've got caves and from mystics from like 10,000 years ago, which survived the floods, which were about 5,000 years ago. So and because Vedic knowledge was not written down, it was transmitted by word of mouth. They don't know when those things started because they were written down whenever, whatever date, but long before they were written down. Those people in that learning tradition have amazing memories. I watched a video on Tibetan medicine people, and even though the Chinese like destroyed their temples and destroyed they destroyed their libraries, and when they invaded Tibet, those monks went off to India and they were able from memory to reproduce everything. They reproduced their libraries, they reproduced all their knowledge because they had it all stored in their minds, which is astonishing, because I obviously haven't got much connection there because I can't store a whole lot in my I've got a terrible memory. That's why I always have such good lookup tables and things, because I don't have a great memory. So so Laurie, that the thing as to who's older, I think that's very debatable. It could have
I'm
run
sure it is. I think you've got to do what you're comfortable with.
Yes.
And with me being a very earthy person, I'm not a Eastern person by any manner of means. Yes. I never have been. I've been a very I've got that very strong Taurus moon, and yes. I love nature, and I love, when I did weather astrology, I said, well, this just confirms it. This is how we read a chart, because if it affects the earth like this, it affects the body like this. And studying the deep tradition with all the Dwards and the, Dwardism and all of that, I found it's perfectly sufficient to get right into where people also say, but nobody's ever told me that. So I think we have to, if you've studied your profession well and followed your heart and you go with it. I did study, I did do some Jyotish Vedic, and it never worked for me. I did a course on it, and I hated every minute of it. And I think because I went in there, and as I went in there, I said, no, and I fought it. And my chart was not me at all.
Oh, no.
Not at all. And I really tried. And this person's trying to tell me what I am. And I think, I'm not that.
Oh, wow.
I'm certainly not that person. And it was quite, trying to tell me I'm an Aries. And I'm thinking, I'm not Aries, I'm not this, and everything was changing, and I thought, I can't even relate. And then I even thought, don't be so stubborn. And then I looked at it again later on, and I still couldn't, even I think with Nathan, even with him saying things, I just said, no, it's not
didn't work.
Doesn't work for me. So, but that's me. I'm a very earthy person. I'm a hippie. I'm a flower child. And with the weather astrology, it works on the land. It works on my body. There you go. Yeah. And that's my take.
I also find, though, that you can add a lot of color and information to a Western astrological chart if you look at the decans.
Very much so.
And the decans, a lot of people just ignore them. I don't think that the problem with Western astrology and Western astrologers in general is that I don't think they go deep enough into the tradition, whereas the Vedics go very, very deep into their tradition.
Yes.
And I am much more interested in going deep into the Western astrological traditions, which originate from the city of Babylon.
Yes.
Which,
from the Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia, yes.
Yes.
And they are ancient, the civilization originated from Mesopotamia, Western civilization.
Exactly.
And so that's why I'm so interested in the Arabic astrologers and the Jewish side of astrology, because a lot of those so-called Arabic astrologers
were Jewish. Exactly.
But they were Arabs in the sense that they lived in Arabian countries and they spoke that language and they passed on that, they were, because Jews are displaced all over the world.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is that because the Jews are very clever people, I think.
Exactly.
And so you can see their intelligence shining through in all their Arabic astrology. And I'm very interested because the Arabs also preserved a lot of the Greek stuff that was lost
Yes.
when the Romans invaded. So I must say I'm with Laurie on that one. I'm very interested in the Western astrological tradition because I'm too old to have to now learn a new language.
Yeah. But Karen, Debbie did the most amazing talk for us on deacons once at ASA. I must get you to do it again, Debbie, because there's so many new people on that come to these meetings. All the old ones have left.
And the depth, it's the depth. Like ladies that you've dived deep into the richness. Instead of adding fluff and adding 600 asteroids, when they start adding asteroids, you'll see in the beginning of Bernadette Brady, she starts adding, she said she chucked everything that Solarfire had onto the chart. It just looks like a disaster zone. It doesn't look like anything. There's no, and so she also, it's like, you've got to go for the quality and not just chuck on 600 asteroids and hope that an asteroid hits the target, Like, let's go back to what these wise people did and so on. I actually have got, here's that young guy from Los Angeles. God, I can't remember anything today.
Chris Brennan?
No, not Chris. I've got Chris's book. I'm a terribly inquisitive person. It's Chris's friend. Oh my goodness, I've got the book. I'm just hunting it. It's on the deacons. It's called The Faces.
Austin Kopok.
The 36 Faces.
Yeah, Austin Kopok.
Yes, I got his book.
That's another book that I don't have that I was trying to get so badly. And the expletive thing is out of print.
No.
Yep.
No.
All the books I want are out of print.
Well, I got them.
Diana K. Rose.
Do for you.
Diana K. Rosenberg, Austin Kopok. Then there was this other one I was mentioning. What was it again that I was looking for?
Yeah, you were mentioning it on the group.
Yeah.
The Mundane.
The Mundane. I get so frustrated because these people write these books, they go out of print and then they don't put them on in electronic format. And to get physical books into the Southern Hemisphere from the Northern Hemisphere costs a shitload of money.
It's ridiculous. I totally agree. It's outrageous. It is. It is. Anyway, so Debbie, I've got 2 of those books that you're looking for. So I'm gonna make a plan for you.
I would love a copy of the Deacon book.
Yeah, I would love the Deacon book.
Yes. So what I'm going to try and do, if I take it down to the photocopier, they won't want to do the whole book. So what I might do is get a piece done here and a piece done there and a piece done there, and then
but if you've got a scanner,
I must get a scanner. I have to get a scanner because when I finish this tomorrow, I'm restarting my chirology because Laurie and we both started chirology with Jen Hirsch. And then I said to Jen, the reading was so great. I said to her, you know what? I've just decided I'm going to teach this weather course, because she inspired me. She's the reason why the weather course happened, because she read my hands. And when I said, like, I'm busy working on weather astrology, and I think I'd given the talk already, but I hadn't got my act together.
Committed to the course, yeah.
To the course. And she said, wow. She said, that's fabulous. She said, that's such an interesting thing. She said, I'd never even heard of weather astrology. She said, that is something that you need to do. So then I thought about it, and I woke up one morning and I had nothing prepared. And I got hold of her. I said, Jen, can we put my chirology off for 3 months, and I'm going to teach this course in 12 lessons. So she said, okay, fine.
So both of us are on all hold for 3 months.
And so the handprint, I am not allowed to take that handprint on my phone. I'm not allowed to, I've got a PDF scanner on my phone, and that is not acceptable for Jen. I've got to get a scanner. So I think I've just got to save up, get a scanner, and then I'll scan those books, and then I don't have to get permission from anyone. And then I can PDF them through to you. That's a good idea.
I'll contribute towards your scanner.
Well, what else?
Cheaper than buying the book. I'm happy to contribute.
Well, let's see what I can do. I haven't even looked what scanners cost, but
scanners don't cost a lot of money. In fact, these days they come standard with a lot of printers. Exactly.
We had a printer. We had an El Cheapo little dot matrix, not dot matrix. What are those jet things?
Yeah.
Which I've got a laser. I don't actually use those jet things, but we bought a jet thing for next to nothing, and it had a magnificent scanner on it. But after a while, what happens is those belts wear out, and so that thing conked out. We had to eventually put it on an angle. It wouldn't like send the photograph thing across unless it was angular. Oh my word, it was a hiss. So I'm gonna hunt one down, and when I do. And that has to be pretty soon, because I have to scan in hands and whatnot for Jen. I will start scanning those books. And even if I just do I'll do a chapter and I can send it off and you can print it out. And okay, so cool.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
And if you need, I also am prepared to contribute to the cost of your scan.
Me too.
Oh, well, that'll be fabulous. Well, let's just see what I can come up with price-wise, because I'm going to buy it local. I'm not going to, I'm sure in Joburg you can get something for absolutely the best price. In Durban, we used to have a company there. They had secondhand stuff they had bought from overseas. They used to buy container loads of written down company computers and things. God, you could pick up the most beautiful laptops, everything for next to nothing. But that's Durban, not the garden route. So I'm going to sniff around the garden route.
Doesn't take a lot to deliver.
Yeah, but you see, I also want to test it. And if it goes wrong, Debbie, I don't have to send it back to
Okay.
there. I want to chuff down to George or Neisner and take it in.
Okay.
There is Kloppers, which is kind of like a baby macro thing. And there's Matrix, which I think is also, there's also, but I don't really go
when you take out the cost of travel and time, you've already saved what you would have lost on the special. So I always say to my husband, how much money and time have you spent on travel to get that good deal?
Yes. No, for sure. I'm going to buy local, because then I can take it back. And if, in 7 days, if the thing conks, because things conk in 7 days sometimes, I can get a new one, so yeah, but I'll work on that, because from Monday, because up till now, my life has been this course. So from Monday, I've got freedom and I can run around and look for
the people from Matrix, because Matrix is we get them here as well. They're not usually very well stocked, but if you told them, if you surfed the internet and looked at what you wanted, they might be able to order it in for you.
Okay, cool. I like Matrix. If things go wrong with our systems, which we didn't, some of the stuff we didn't buy there, they're great at sorting it. So I'll pop up to
even if they don't have stock, they might be able to order if you tell them what you want. Yeah, awesome. But you'd obviously have to be a bit specific.
Yes, no, I will. And I can be persuasive when I want as well. So thanks for that, Debbie. I will. They're nice people. I like them. That I generally don't go to Incredible because they are so unhelpful sometimes. They drive me insane. They've got everything and then nobody to help you. So,
I avoid them like the plague.
What I do is I do my research online and I look at everything online, and I look at Macro, and I look at Incredible Connection, and I look at all the places, and I look at online to see, because I recently had to buy a new color printer because mine packed in around about the same time as Solar Fire packed in. And I bought a small one, an Epson that does color very nicely, and the ink is those bottles that you pour in. And it's much cheaper. I've got a laser printer, but I don't like things in black and white when it comes to astrology.
Yes.
And color laser printers are very expensive.
Yes, my husband's got a color laser, but it doesn't work. It's an HP. He paid about $5,000 for it years ago, and the damn thing doesn't print. The heads don't line up properly.
Yeah, so, but my old printer that packed up was an HP. And you know what HP has started doing with the refills? They're putting these chips inside, so you can only use HP cartridges inside them.
Oh,
and
sneaky.
The HP cartridges cost a fortune.
A fortune.
Yes. So I'm never buying HP ever again.
Yes, skip HP. Okay, cool. So what else have I got to show you? Has everybody got some time still? Because I've got a few bits and bobs still to show you. Everyone okay?
Yes.
Sure, carry on.
Okay, awesome.
I have time.
So what we're looking at next, this is Carolyn Egan's very, very, very stripped down website. You'll see it's, and I will send you all the links. So because I sent them all to Sue, so I'll just forward them into the weather group, and then you can access all these websites. This is weathersage.wordpress.com. Now, Carolyn Egan's real website was weathersage.com, and it was beautiful. So what the family did when she died, there weren't any astrologers in the family, you know, like you're saying with Rosenberg and that, Debbie, it kind of just died with her. She had CDs. I showed you those CDs in lecture 1, and the rest of the batch of the CDs was given to Astrolab actually to sell off. And I looked yesterday, and you can't even buy those CDs anymore. But quite honestly, it was a very introductory course. She basically taught the season. She taught how to do the weather, the weather for a wedding or outdoor event. So she was very much about those percentages and things, and the lunar charts and the blah blah blah. But she didn't have the depth that McCormack brings. And what she said McCormack was too advanced for what she was trying to do. She was trying to just get people started. She had studied McCormack, and she had gone back to university and studied meteorology as a science as well, because she really wanted to be very professional about the whole thing. So this is her very sad little website, but there's one thing which is very good, and I'm showing you that this is the hurricane report. She prepared it in June of 2013. And then why I'm showing this to you guys is because you are now going to hand in a seasonal report. So what you can see here, now look, this is specifically for the hurricane. I expect a little bit more than what she's presented, because I'm looking for temperature, rainfall, blah, 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 blah. Even if you say no rainfall, whatever, I just wanted like a little bit of a something. Well, I suppose it's not too bad, but like sometimes she just says heavy rain, you know, I would like a little bit more than that, because I'd like those categories. And even if it's like no storm, because you can't see any violent stuff or whatever. So here you can see her doing her lunar quarters. So she's going 30th of June to the 7th of July. She's missed the first one, okay, but that's the one that would be from the ingress, because probably it's not hurricane season or whatever. I don't know why they only presented this, but that's what she's done. So there's her prediction. June 30th to July 7, tropical development in the Atlantic, where Bermuda may be in the crosshairs. record heat and convection in the islands of Cuba and Haiti, etc. And, we saw that with that hurricane that I did the map for. Then she puts the actual. So results, she says there was an upper low that developed over the islands. And then, so those islands, that's Cuba and Haiti, not Bermuda. Bermuda kind of just sits on its own in the middle of the Atlantic off the east coast of the America. So an upper low developed over those islands and traveled past Bermuda, because that's what it does. Those hurricanes travel past, and it left 0.37 of an inch of rain. That's not too much of rain. She doesn't talk about the actual temp, which she would have had, but I suppose she's just kind of giving hints. She's probably not giving her full thing. She's just giving little snippets. Then July 8 to 14, there's another quarter, heavy rain in Florida. And then what happened? There was 3 inches of rain in Florida. July 15 to 21, wind and rain across the Gulf Coast, oppressive humidity in Louisiana, hot and humid in Florida with winds picking up later in the period, and severe thunderstorms generally in the south. And what actually happened, there was a low pressure system that developed in the central Gulf. So it goes on and on. It goes right the way down to December. So what she's done, she's probably taken like the whole hurricane season build up. There is a hurricane mentioned like later on in the whole thing, and she's focusing on that sort of eastern seaboard of the United States, because as Laurie's hubby was saying, those hurricanes are born off the coast of Africa, and they move across and then up that coast and cause their devastation. So that's one tiny little thing that's left. I mean, she's got categories here. They've got categories like waves of the future. Well, there's nothing there. There's Barack Obama's chart. If we go click on waves of the future, like there isn't anything there. Blog, she's got a blog, accurate forecast for the period October 4 to 10. This is also 2013. So, and here she draws her solar map, but that's it. That's all they've got. And she had hundreds of storm, like what I've asked you people to do a storm articles. She had hundreds of those. She had amazing stuff. And here's the weather course that they're advertising. This is her. This was the picture that she put in color. No, they didn't even bother to put this thing in color, but she had this on her CDs. And it says now in its 3rd printing, because they've just slapped it. And it says here, the course built on continuing the road with solid foundations via C.C. Zane. C.C. Zane, I didn't mention him much. I did a little bit in the intro. He was big on the percentages. And McCormack hardly mentions the percentages. So I think that percentage stuff she got from C.C. Zane. And then McCormack was all the depth, but she didn't teach that in her CDs. And it's 15 years of accumulated observation, ideas, and success. So you can read a little bit about her there and so on. But, it's sad. It's in my mind to kind of try and get hold of the family, but, I'm not American. And so trying to get hold of Carolyn Egan's family might be somewhat challenging, especially because they obviously didn't value anything that she did. And you can no longer buy, there's a link here somewhere. It says here, the former Dillida was launched in May 2000 and currently in transition to a new host. The new site will host an abundance of information and sees report. Well, that's not true. And then, they talk about you can get the course at wherever, but you can't. So as I said, it's Astrolabe, the same place that you can get from, where we buy Solar Fire. So that was just that I wanted to show you. And then this is a lovely explanation of the ecliptic. This is Georgia State University. So we're back in astronomy, actually astrophysics. But the pictures here are great and the explanations are really good. It's a guy called R. Nave. He put these things up. But there you see the ecliptic and then you see the celestial thing. And if anybody who didn't understand right ascension, such as myself, right ascension is from the northern spring equinox. It's measured along, because sometimes instead of signs, they use right ascension. And you'll see that in Robson. If you go to the back of Robson, he talks about right ascension. So basically, northern tropical Aries, 0 to 30, starts at 0. So it starts at the northern tropical Aries. And then Taurus is 30 degrees to 60 degrees. So they'll say 56 degrees right ascension. So 56 degrees is 56 minus 30 gives you 26. It's 26 of northern tropical Taurus. And they go through the whole 360. Years ago, when I studied with Dr. Dyson, she taught us to calculate the charts by hand, manually, from the tables of houses and God knows what, because she had learned that with her teachers. And we used right ascension and sidereal time and all kinds of fancy things. So there is a beautiful, and there's our declination. There is our celestial latitude and equator, because there is our Earth equator, there's our celestial equator, and there's our declination. So it's the angle between the celestial equator and where the say the stars up there or the planets up there. They measure that angle, and the sun will never go more than 23.5 degrees or 23, 26 at the moment. And there's more explanation about all that, but they just say vernal ingress, vernal equinox, which is spring equinox, but they mean northern tropical. So just bear that in mind. And then they show you here, which is what Bernadette Brady was also showing us, that intersection, and I think the lady, the intersection between the autumnal, the equinoxes basically, well, the intersection between the ecliptic plane, which is at that angle, and the ecliptic is the path of the sun, okay, and the celestial equator, and they intersect here at the two equinoxes. So there is a very nice illustration of that. Again, they're showing the celestial measurement, right ascension and declination. And you know, I so love declination. I never understood it until I did weather astrology, and I just love it. Synodic and sidereal periods, that, you know, I was telling in the later lectures, I put for all the planets, I put the synodic and the sidereal. They explain it nicely there, what all that means. So I just think that's just such a sweet summary. If you ever get confused, you can just pop along there. And this is fabulous. So we're not going to worry with comments there, because I mean, that's all stuff you all know. This is clouds, and it's the world meteorology. I just happened on the site because I'm always sniffing around the internet to find out more stuff about, you know, about weather and so on. So about many things, whatever I'm fascinated by, but particularly for the last 3 months, I've been sniffing out weather stuff. And I came upon this. I just absolutely love this. So this site, it's called the Cloud Atlas, and it belongs to the World Meteorological Organization. They put it all free. You can print it. But what I love, it's got loads of pictures of everything, photographs. So this is their definition, and I just love the definition. A cloud is a hydrometeor. So it's a water body that's moving through space, consisting of minute particles of liquid water or ice or both, suspended in the atmosphere and usually not touching the ground. Yesterday, the clouds were touching the ground right here where I was. That's that heavy mist, but you can actually feel that you're in the cloud. It may also include larger particles of liquid water or ice, as well as non-aqueous liquid or solid particles such as fumes, smoke, or dust. Okay, that's just the diff. But now, here's where it gets fabulous. Where are we? Where are we? Okay, I'm just going to go next through all this various stuff. Don't get stuff. Okay, here we go. The appearance of a cloud is best described, so you can just next your way through until you know where everything is. Appearance of a cloud best described by dimensions, by shape, by structure, texture, luminance, and color. And then they define what luminance is. Basically, that's like how shiny the things are. Voila, voila. Lots of interesting stuff to read. Color, you know, we've all seen that. You get grays and pinks and all kinds of shades in between, sparkling bright whites. Now, they talk about classification. And what I just love, they're using the same classification as plants and animals. There's a genera or a genus. I think that's the plural. Debbie will know better than me. I think it's a genera. Then after genera comes species, and a cloud can only have one genus and one species. And then it can have lots of varieties. And then there are special clouds. So then there's 2 extra classifications, which are rare. But, you know, I love clouds. I just love clouds. I just happen to be a crazy cloud lady. Okay, so you get crazy cat ladies, but I'm a crazy cloud lady. So, and actually there's an organization in the UK called like the Cloud People or whatever. And I wanted to join, but they want like €100 a year. And I thought, you know what? Not now. Maybe later. They have cloud meetings and they go out. They look at clouds there. They talk about clouds. I think it's fabulous. They're very eccentric, and I quite like that. So, okay. So here are the genus. You got Cirrus, and they give you the abbreviation. And then if you click on this, let's just take. I mean, you can see Cirrus is all those like little wispy things. Then there's Cirrocumulus. Then there's Cirrostratus. Then there's Altocumulus, Altostratus, Nimbostratus. Now, here are the monsters, the cumulonimbus. Let's just click on cumulonimbus, and now you get a whole definition of what it is. Heavy. Shall I close my door because my Labrador is barking? I think because they all play. Let me just close the door. My 12-year-old lab can't really play, but she barks when the puppy Malinois play. Okay. So I just absolutely love this. They give you a full definition. Huge, heavy and dense, considerable vertical extent in the form of a mountain or huge towers. At least part of its upper portion is smooth or fibrous or striated. It's nearly always flattened. And this is the part that spreads out in the shape of an anvil or a vast plume. Under the base, which is often very dark, there are low ragged clouds, either merged with or not, and precipitation in the form of a virga. I don't even know what that is, but anyway, but they give you these gorgeous pictures. So you can go and check all of that. Then, and attached to each genus of the cloud, you then have a species. So that's like fine tuning. And again, we've got Fibratus. Now, my Latin is not good. I stopped Latin in standard 6. I think. And then I did needlework and home economics, much to my mother's disgust. But she didn't teach me those things, so I decided that my teachers had to teach me that. So there's Fibratus. I think Castellanus is like castles because you can see all these turrets and things going on. Floccus, I think, is like woolly things. Here, I think, is that fish scale, the Stratiformis. There's Spessatus. I mean, all these, these are Latin names. Here are these wacky clouds, the Lenticularis. There's the nebulosus, that's just misty, misty, misty. Congestus, Capillatus, Volutus, all this jazzy, but all of them they've got beautiful, I mean, they've obviously picked the best photographs that they can find, and they are the World Meteorological Association or organization or whatever. And then we head off into, okay, now we're going to go through all of those, which we're not going to do, that we can all, you guys can do when you've got time. Here are the varieties again. So that what they say with varieties is it can have different varieties. You only allowed one genus, one species, but after that, you can have lots of different varieties, but they're not all attached to all the clouds. And if you go into it, like let's pick something, what should we pick? Radiatus. Then they'll tell you like what clouds radiatus is normally attached to. See, it says the radiatus is clouds showing broad parallel bands or arranged in parallel bands owing to the effect of perspective, seem to converge to a point, or when bands cross the whole sky towards two opposite points called radiation points. And then they'll tell you that these belong to cirrus, altocumulus, altostratus, stratocumulus, and cumulus. Then they've got the supplementaries, which are also fascinating. There's the Virgo that they're talking about. So let's just have a look and see what Virgo is. I think it's those sort of down pipey things. Vertical or inclined trails of precipitation called fall streaks, which are attached to the undersurface of a cloud that doesn't reach Earth's surface. So it's kind of raining in the sky sort of thing. That's what I kind of see with that. And then this tuba looks scary because this tuba, that is your tornado. Yeah. So this is a cloud column or an inverted cloud cone, which protrudes from the cloud base, and it constitutes a cloud manifestation of more or less of a vertex. And that vertex can be awfully destructive. You've got accessory clouds. I mean, they've got this covered. I don't think there's a cloud that they haven't got. And, you know, because some of those things people go, oh my God, those are flying saucers or what, this is weird, but they've got all these things classified. So there's also, I mean, look at these weird things. I mean, that looks scary. The Flumen looks scary. Even the Peleus looks scary. It's got like a flat cap on it. And what else are we doing? Specials. And I think they'll also kind of tell you which clouds the specials are attached to. Here are also extra special. Here's like a aircraft condensation trails. So they call that homogenitus, whatever. And then there's homomutatus and cataracta genitus, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so I wanted to end with that because I think that's just fab. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's brilliant. So I'm interested to hear what you think.
It's fascinating, Karen.
Nice, hey?
There's so many clouds, so you probably have to look them up sometimes if they don't look too familiar.
That's the thing, like if you see a weird thing, photograph it and come here and see if you can identify it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to get my friend's sister to please copy in all her photographs. She takes them every morning. You know, she's a school teacher, and on her way to school, the clouds tell her what her mood's going to be for the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Loves clouds, loves clouds.
See, I mean, I've never been artistic, but I'm thinking maybe I should start painting some of these clouds that I see in the sky. Who knows? We'll
Have to
see.
paint quickly because they change.
Indeed. That's why I snapped them on my camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically the end of our course. Other than to say, and I'll also put it on our weather group, that I would like your diary in on the 22nd, because the next solstice, no, not a solstice. Yes, it is. The summer solstice is on the 21st. So if you could just send me your diaries, and with Laurie, I'm going to take Debbie's last bit moved. But yeah, that I mean, because, and if you've got gaps, don't stress. I mean, it's mainly to get you into that, because as a weather astrologer, that is just something you've got to do, because that's how you check yourself. Did I get it right? And all the rest of it. Because you're going to be, I mean, at the moment, we've been kind of predicting in tandem with our diary, and that's a lovely way to learn. But if we're going to start actually predicting, we're going to be predicting ahead, and then our diary will come along and confirm what we've done.
Well, the last couple of weeks we predicted ahead.
Indeed. Yeah. Indeed. Yes.
Because I sort of predicted ahead a wet Christmas, and I predicted this weather this weekend. Told my kids, don't go to the river, it's going to rain. And they've all come back early.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely fantastic.
So
And then
Debbie, I appreciate you sharing it with me, because then, I mean, I've been doing it here, but it's slightly different to the one you gave me as well. So it is a bit different.
Now, I'll send you mine, but I just wanted to ask, so the assignment the seasonal prediction that we must do, Karen,
Yes.
when is that due? Also the 22nd.
No, well, it's up to you. If you've got it prepared, because like I've tried to encourage everybody to do all the lunar segments. And so basically, you know, what I'm expecting is just like an introductory thing, like you've already did. What's my local climate? And just so that I've got some perspective on what your average local climate is, which you guys did, I think, in the first lecture or so. And then, you know, the breakdown of the solar ingress, the wind charts, just like some quick observations, little paragraph on each of those charts, or, you know, like you did. It's basically you're going to collate all the stuff you've already done. And then the heavy prediction is going to come in those lunar quarters, which you've already done. So I just want that all collated into one document. Yeah, and you don't have to give me maybe you should. Maybe you should just snapshot, like we did in the article, just snapshot your ingress chart, because then I know what you're working from, because just now maybe I draw it up wrong and it's just going to make life tricky. So if you can give me your ingress chart, your wind charts, and then each lunar chart, and then that little what's happening for that week, and your declinations, you know, which you can bring into the week probably, or it's probably better to amalgamate that the week's worth of declination in with the week's worth of, because that's what Egan did. She did it weekly. She did the deep, like you can see on her hurricane thing. She goes da 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 this date to this date, and she writes her couple of little sentences there. So that's what I'm looking for. And as I say, if you've done all the assignments, you're basically good to go. But I'm happy to give, the diary I would like, but I'm happy with extensions. I know this is crazy December time. So if I would like that, say, by next sort of Sunday, or beyond. Let's just say ideally it would be next Sunday, because then I can get everything marked and done. But if you need an extension, you let me know, because
now I was just checking the timeline. So next Sunday you want our comprehensive report, but then only on the 26th you want our weather diary. The 26th.
Yes, then in one thing, just if you can just do the whole one thing.
Okay.
And what was the other thing I wanted to say? What else was there? Oh yes. Okay. So far, in terms of, because I said I'm going to carry on with mundane, like let's take this and research further. So if anybody, so far Charmaine has said she wants to join in. That's like, it's not a lesson. So this is kind of like, let's study together kind of thing and see what we can come up with. And we could probably have like we've had with the other one, like a WhatsApp group and a Facebook private group where we all kind of follow events and things. And then, so if you can let me know if you're interested in joining that. And so they were like, I might also have questions. Because, it took me 6 years to get this right. So everyone knows how long it will take. I do want to do more mundane. I find it fascinating. Why shouldn't we know what's going to go on in our world from our sky? So, so that's definitely something I'm going to, because as like I said, we're like halfway there. And then there's also the option of, if you want to be part of a group that actually puts out an almanac. And I don't know quite where we're going to do the almanac for. Maybe it's the whole of South Africa. It depends how many people. And we could just do it in like a PDF format. So we would be actually predicting. So before we actually predict and put it out there, we're going to have to just check ourselves a few times. We're going to have to do a couple of seasons where we actually we do the prediction and we see like where we're right. And once we start getting to be like, because I've got a lot of people, a lot of friends, people I know that just laugh at astrologers. They think we're wacky. And I don't think we're wacky at all. I think we come from a very rich tradition. I'm very proud to be an astrologer. And but if you want respect, you have to be accurate, because like if you say this is going to happen and it happens, people go, you know, and then they do sit up and notice. So my vision there is we'll do a couple of seasons trial. So we'll do our prediction up front, we'll do our weather diaries, and we'll check it. And what would be nice is to have, you know, like to say do mainly we've got to do like farmland. So we need someone in the Cape. I can say do the garden route. Like Charmaine's up in Mpumalanga, so she can, is it in Mpumalanga? I think wherever White River is, I forget what provinces.
It's in Mpumalanga.
And then we've got, you know, Laurie and Debbie and Sue all in Joburg. And so maybe like with the Joburg, you could split the load, that you don't all have to be hectic on do, I don't know, break the season up into 3 sections or whatever, and you each do a section. I don't know. And maybe you're not interested in whatever, but my aim with that is to actually eventually sell them, put it out as an almanac. You know, we can find a name and we can sell it. Ken Ring sells his almanacs. He does one for you can go and look on his website if you like. I'll find the link. It's not called Ken Ring. It's called something else. He does Ireland and he does New Zealand, and he charges, I think, no, I can't remember what he charges, but I'll send you the link and I'll send you a picture. So there are people putting out almanacs. Like I said, he is not really an astrologer. He is like a Maori moon dude, that he kind of added a few extra things in, but he's primarily the moon, and he still puts his almanac out. But you've got to focus on the farmlands, because the first people that are terribly concerned about what the weather is going to do are the farmers. And you know, that might sound a little bit sort of, oh, well, that's a bit boring, but actually our food supply is dependent on the farmers. Because my husband tracks a guy who is an international, what do you call it? He's a trader in raw commodities. So like coffee beans and this and that and that. And when the climate fails in the place where the coffee beans are grown most predominantly, there is a massive crisis in the world, because the price shoots up sky high and all other kind of things follow, and then there's shortages. I mean, the price shoots up sky high because there's a shortage. So if we could see that in advance and be able to warn the farmers to say, in this area of South Africa, you should hold back planting because it's going to be a false spring. We've had a few false springs here. So then the little trees pop out their flowers, you know, like the fruit trees, for instance, they pop the flowers out, and then you get a hectic freeze and those flowers die. And then that tree is completely confused, and you've lost, you know, it takes a lot of energy for a tree to produce those little flowers. And then it has to kind of start all over again and recover from being frozen, and it messes the harvest up, you know, well, it messes the number of product that is a harvest, the number of items that they can pick for the season. So that's helpful. And I mean, if we can see floods, or if we can see whatever crisis we can see, say if we can see freezing lands, you know, a warning can be issued and to farmers to say, listen, like McCormack did when he knew that there was that hectic freeze, he told the farmers to put their produce, well, not the produce, to put their animals into like a safe space where they wouldn't be frozen to death, somehow, you know, to shelter and corral them. So so those are my two visions. So if anybody else is interested, like, let me know, and we can just build it from there. The other thing, I am going to keep on trying to sort of get the articles. I sent off to Nancy, haven't heard from Nancy, but you know, it is crazy season now, so it might take a while for things to kind of filter through. MJ is also, Nancy is the ISAR representative for South Africa. MJ is actually the ISAR representative for Canada. So you know, I can also approach MJ, but it looks like MJ is pretty busy at the moment as well. And so it might only happen in the new year that we actually start getting the things published. And like I said, you know, I'm going to put the articles onto my website, but I'm busy designing it, and I'm no great web designer, but I've had my website designed before and paid a fortune and not been happy. So I'm going to figure out how to do what I want. I want it pretty simple, but I still have to figure all that out. So that's going to take me a little while as well. Vimeo I've got. So if anybody wants to talk, the article in a mini video form, and for me, I think it is the wave of the future. We can put it on there, and from there I can set Vimeo. For my lectures, I haven't done that, but Vimeo can be set to say that it can be embedded anywhere, and which means I can put a link and put it into Facebook. On OPA site, ISA site, I can do that myself because I've got the link, and you know, say, well, here's an article for discussion or whatever, and I'm happy to do that. OPA, I'm not very sure about OPA because they're very, very evolutionary astrology and not at all like traditional or anything. I don't know. I mean, they've got Chris Brennan and the Hellenistics there, but it's just like 90% evolutionary, and Maurice like lording over everybody, even though a lady called Kate Taylor is actually the president. Maurice lords.
I know Kate Taylor is his little, Maurice manages, he's almost like a cult leader. I know him very well. I went away on a meeting to do an SR consultant training course, but he organized for all of South Africans to go over onto the conference, but there was only like one South African, and I went along, and he tried to rip us off financially. He did many, many evil things, and I caught him out. And after that, he left me alone. I said to him, I want proof, I want this, I want that. And then the other thing about Maurice is very scorpionic and Gemini. So he basically, Opa was his baby, this whole evolutionary thing. Though he's given power to other people and it deceptively made them this, made them that, made them the other thing. And people follow him. On conferences, he gets you absolutely exhausted because you're up till late at night doing things. So he tires you out with all sorts of yoga and chanting and crap like that, which I refused to do in the end. And I remember one guy saying to me, oh, you've also seen right through him. So, you know, don't worry about Maurice. There are many people in there that'll let it go. Like, for example, Theo. Maurice respects Theo a lot, and he's scared of me. So, you know, if I go, look, I know he's very anti the turning of the chart. So Theo just avoids that with him. Yes. You don't even fight with a personality who is sort of semi-cult leader like Maurice, because you're not going to get anywhere. So you ignore him, and his people will publish.
Yeah.
He'll publish my article and Debbie's, because it hasn't been turned.
Okay.
You see.
Debbie's has been turned, as far as I know.
Oh, sorry. I don't know where that place is. So
Southern Hemisphere.
Okay.
Anything in the north, we'll put through there just to get weather energy on the map. You know, it's gone very off the map. Debbie?
Yeah, I actually didn't turn it because it was so close to the equator.
Okay.
But it was only about 5 degrees or something below the equator, so I wasn't sure.
No,
so
that's cool.
I'd look at the
Well,
side.
then he'll be fine.
It still worked. So that's
I
brilliant.
know, but I don't want anything to do with Oprah.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
Oprah is, do you know that they mock him? They mock Maurice in the traditionalist world as well. They mock him. And they say, no, we don't want anything to do with this Maurice fool. He's not allowed on the traditional astrology grid, yeah. I could actually go and put it up on their Facebook page and see what they do with it.
You know what? Let's skip Oprah because that's an evolutionary astrology thing, and we're not interested. They deleted my posts, and so I just thought, so
They're horrible people. Well, it's Maurice who controls everything like a little, they're all little puppets doing their little thing, and he pulls all the strings.
And if he doesn't like something, I argued back and I gave him facts. I didn't just, and he didn't listen. And he just said, you can go and talk to Gemini Brett and he'll explain to you blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, actually, I just don't agree with Gemini Brett. The declination is the day thing. It's not. I can show you so much where declination is a month thing. It's a year thing. It's an 18-year thing. And I put those declination charts on. He didn't even look at it. And so I thought, you know what? And then they posted something about Sagittarius. And I said, oh, well, in weather astrology, it's Southern Tropical Gemini. They deleted it. And so then the lady, and he got a lackey to do that. He got one of his moderators, and she was new. And so she said, I've deleted your post. And so I said, well, why? So she said, no, well, because of this, this, and this. It was like I was promoting my own business as a weather astrologer, and a lot of nonsense. And they've got another forum where I can promote my business so many times a week and post about things that are not okay for them. So I said to her, thanks very much. I was polite to her because I knew it wasn't her. So yeah, I think we give Oprah a wide skip. Let's see what ISAR does, because ISAR's got a lot of, Nancy's a Rod Suskin person, and he taught us traditional stuff. Let's see what she has to say, and we'll take it from there. There are other organizations, and if there aren't, we'll just make an organization, and then we'll just take it, And also, like we've got a Cape Astrology Association, and I didn't even ask Nancy about publishing it on the Cape Astrology thing, but I think we do have to have a launching pad, because they're not going to host our stuff. I've got to figure that out first, and also for ESSA and Larry, we could put articles on, but again, I think I have to be able to host it before you could sort of put it in the feed.
I'll put it on the Facebook page, no problem. I'll also put it on our Astrology South Africa website. I've just got to get my web designer to help me with that because it's a bit difficult. We took over such a broken website, and it's still, and then she got COVID, and now she's dwarf as well. So as you say, these website people are another bloody story. I'm still battling to get the memberships right with her. She stuffed that up. She's lost all my memberships now, this new one. And then she says, oh, happy anniversary. We've been going for a year. And I said, with very little to show. It's not happy for me.
Oh, no, it's sad. It's so sad. That's why
she hasn't charged me yet. So, that's also a bit of a problem because I have no comeback because she hasn't charged me.
But that's also good. If you're not happy with it, then you've got something, you haven't dished out a whole lot of hundreds of thousands or whatever.
No, I haven't. No.
So that's actually a good thing that she hasn't charged.
She said she won't charge me until it's all 100%, and it's not. I keep on going back to her. Oh, I'm sorry. And she's been badly affected by COVID. She was great, whizzing. She got sick. She was sick for like a month. And since then, a bubble brain of note.
Maybe just give it a couple of months, Laurie.
Yeah, I'm betting she got the Delta virus. And I know from my husband what he's like since he's had it. So I'm understanding and I'm giving her time. And I say, okay, one inch at a time. Let's just get this right. Let's just get that. But I'll ask her to publish the articles for me. I'll give her a little bit of pocket money because she needs it, and then she can publish them.
Oh, that would
Yeah.
be beautiful. Because
Yeah.
I haven't figured that out.
But
Yeah,
I also think that it would be quite a good idea to build up a kind of article database on ASA, because you can, because people searching for Southern African astrology might get to ASA. So then if you want to do a little article that piques people's interest, that can direct them to your
articles,
your article or your website when you eventually get it up for specifically weather astrology. But then also it's nice to contribute to, because before I started the course, I had decided to start studying mundane. And the reason why I did the course was because Laurie said to me that it's a part of mundane. So that was why I decided to do it. And I had decided that as a discipline, I would try and write an article or so every month to see if I could get them posted to ASA, because first of all, it's nice to stir a little bit of shit. And South Africa's birth chart, I know, is controversial with some of the members of
yes.
And
Yeah,
also,
especially with Eleanor and Cindy.
I noticed Eleanor, because I was looking at the ASA website yesterday, and I noticed Eleanor did an article that said, which is South Africa's true birth chart or natal chart or whatever, because I had posted an article just before I started the course. So I asked Laurie to put up an article looking at the grand conjunction that happened in 2020 for South Africa, but I used the Republic of South Africa's chart when we became a country, not when we changed government, because governments change all the time. That doesn't affect the identity of the country. That's how I reasoned.
That's
but then
an event chart.
Yeah. So, but then I wasn't sure if, because I wanted to see what kind of a reaction I would get as well. I was curious. And then I don't know if, Laurie, if Eleanor posted or sent in her article after that, or whether it was something that was written before that. But yeah, I mean, I know that Eleanor doesn't like you to use the Republic of South Africa chart when it first became a country. So,
you know what?
Well, we've agreed to disagree, Eleanor and I. For the sake of friendships, we'll agree to disagree.
Yes. Do you know what Nicholas Campion says? He says they're all valid. So for South Africa, he has got, have you got Nicholas Campion's Book of World Horoscopes, Debbie?
Yes.
So he says you can use all of them. And so, and you layer it. And so, I mean, America's got a whole load of inauguration charts because they're not sure exactly when they signed that, whatever they signed.
The Declaration of Independence.
Yes. And so, I've got a book on eclipses by a lady called Celestial. She uses one chart and it sings for her, and then somebody else is using another, and because there's a Sibley and there's a this and a that and you know what? I think we use all of them because it's layered. It's like the history gets built on and on and on. And so that history isn't lost. It's still there. So
yes, but I you can call me pig-headed if you like, but to my mind, a country is formed when that first becomes known as a country to the rest of the world. Everything after that is mundane events that affect the country, and you can read those from the mundane charts, and you can take the mundane charts from certain, so you can look at the Constitution and the 1994 dispensation. There was a change in government, not a change in land. And to me, the country is the land. It's that grouping of lands, like, because in the states also, they were all different states, all governed different. But when they came together as that federation, to me, that's when the country formed.
Yes.
And in history, and the distinction for me is important, because in history, first you started with city-states. You didn't have countries. You had city states. That's why I'm interested in Baghdad, because Baghdad was a city state, and was a city state. And so gradually the concept of a country, when it came into being, was that, you know, it's a very nationalistic concept. And the idea was that it joined all these city states together into a nation. So that's my logic. So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So like
Greece
I said,
Greece was also all those city states.
yes, that's how they all formed. And so for me, it's significant when those city states come together.
Yes. Makes sense. But the other thing is, in the mundane, you can also use the president's chart. So if you know your birth data of your president, you can layer that, because Frawley, you know, which Frawley is it? The horary dude who runs a lot. Yes, he says mundane is the absolute top of astrology, and it's the most complex, and because it's so layered, you know, you bring everything to bear with mundane, which I mean, it's fabulous. So you know, one can layer, because like you think in the weather, like if we were looking at the weather of South Africa, we've got all these little location points, and then we could coalesce them to do a weather thing, say for the whole of South Africa, or just say the whole of the Cape. Even the Cape is a huge area. So, you know, if you, in mundane, we're not trying to do a whole country, but you can use all these various spotlights to see, is the president's sun being hit? You know, is his Mars being hit? And then if his Mars is being hit and the country's Mars is being hit, then, you know, watch out, because there is something Martian coming down. So it's that confirmation, because Rod had he's got a little rule book. And one of the rules was, once is a possibility, twice is a probability, and 3 times is a certainty. So when you start marshalling up, like for making a mundane prediction, and you get like 5 things, then you come out strong and you say, this is going to happen. I mean, William Lilly predicted the Great Fire of London. You know, so he was an extremely astute astrologer. And so, you know, why can't we do the same thing? I mean, that's how I don't see why. I know Rod kind of, he does a little bit of mundane, but he does it very, very
superficially.
No, he's not superficial in the least. He's strategic, because he doesn't want to like come out there with these hectic predictions and then they're wrong. So he comes out with just a hint. He knows a lot more than a hint, but he'll just hint. And also he's very, very aligned with, you know, because of the Sangoma whole world that he lives in. He's aligned with the ruling party in all kinds of ways, which we don't really know. And so he's also very cautious about kind of like coming out with hectic stuff about the ruling party, which, you know, which I would love to see just disintegrate, because I can't bear what they've done to the people of this country. That's heartless, in my opinion. So, but yeah, so, and, you know, Noel Till, you have to be quite careful in mundane, because like Noel Till was saying, was it Noel Till? No, this is John Frawley. Noel Till was a good natal astrologer, very forceful and all. I mean, he read my chart and was pretty good, but man, was he forceful. He just stopped me. I wanted to say something. He just put his hand in front of me and he said, stop. Like, you know, you can't talk now. I'm talking and done. So that's a bit too forceful for the way I kind of roll. But he did a whole book on what was going to happen, and he pretty much got it wrong, and then he tried to kind of, and he published it all, because he wrote 32 books or whatever, all published by Llewellyn. He was very big friends with the Llewellyn person, that, you know, people that ran Llewellyn. So you got to be a bit careful, because then, you know, you can get your reputation smashed very fast when you start like putting it out there on the world stage. The other thing is that Frawley said, when you predict, you've got to be a bit more general. Like you said, if you say to someone that something's going to happen at 3 p.m. on the 13th of December, and it happens at 4 p.m., you're a bad astrologer in their eyes. But if you say to someone, something's going to happen in the next week, and it happens in the next week, they go, wow. So it's kind of a balancing act as to how super accurate you want to have all the data, but then you enter it in a more kind of generalized, like McCormack said with Neptune. Don't go in with like something hectically specific, even if you can see it, because Neptune has that blurry thing and it's going to blur the lines. So yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean, if have you thought of studying formally, Debbie, or are you going to like learn yourself? What's your kind of plan?
Well, there are no mundane courses that I'm aware of. In fact, mundane has been neglected. It's the one area of astrology, just from the bit of reading that I've done, which has been totally neglected. And that's, I mean, that book that Thorson's was a textbook, I think, for that MA in Wales, that the Master of Arts degree.
Oh, yes, all champions.
In cultural astronomy, I think that was the textbook. And I came across a YouTube video by Chris Brennan, where he talks about this guy called, what's his name? He wrote, I think the book's called Cosmos or something.
Carl Sagan.
No, not Carl Sagan. He's a philosopher, this oak. I read his book. But I thought to myself, but Brennan refers to him as a mundane astrologer, and he's not an astrologer's backside. He's not even an astrologer, never mind a mundane astrologer. What he did is he went Cosmos and Psyche. It's called
Richard Tarnas. I've listened to him. Boring as anything. Then my husband to listen, he said, God, this guy's boring.
he uses 100 words where he could use 10. His book was hailed all around, and all he did was he took some historical astrological data and then showed how it related to world events. To me, that's not mundane astrology. And a lot of it was...
They're like mythology.
But Brennan referred to him as a mundane astrologer, and I had read his book because it had been recommended to me by someone, and I had been distinctly unimpressed even before I saw the Brennan YouTube video, and Brennan went down in my eyes for recommending Richard Tarnas's book.
Yes.
So that's why I also had it on Kindle, and then I put it back because I didn't like it. It's not even on my actual device. But so I had made up my mind, because I have I also am very interested in the fixed stars, and I had made up my mind that I would try and combine sort of looking at stellarium and looking at the principles of mundane astrology where I can find them. That's why I'm interested in the Arabs. And also I came across Pierce's book on the internet yesterday, I think, when I was researching, Alfred Pierce.
Yes.
And he has got some very interesting stuff. I downloaded it in PDF. I mean, you can get Pierce's book, but you can't get bloody Thorson's.
Isn't it crazy? It's crazy.
And you can get Pierce's book, but you can't get 36 Faces. You know, it's insulting, actually, because what kind of a society are we where we don't preserve the knowledge of people like Diane Egan and Diana Rosenberg and Caroline Egan?
Because I've heard people rave about that book that she wrote.
I actually contacted them because I left a message on the website. They also had some kind of a nominal thing, and I contacted them and I asked if they couldn't ship it to me in South Africa, and they said no, because they had tried shipping it before to people and they'd had problems with postage. and also they said a lot of the packages get stolen. So, I mean, what is so difficult about going to the publisher and saying, can't you put this in an ebook format?
Yeah, or PDF.
Yes. And then people can buy it electronically.
Yes. Actually, there's a business opportunity. You know, if someone was, that's what that guy who wrote the McCormack book, he got the manuscript from Philip Graves. I know Philip Graves. He was in Sweden and now he's back in the UK. He collects all these ancient manuscripts. And David Rowell, who started a thing called Astrology Classics and something Astro America, whatever, he would get these books and type them out and then print them. Obviously, in those days, there wasn't all this hectic computer stuff, so he'd physically print them. But he basically restored quite a lot of the old texts. That was one of his missions. But he died the same year as Carolyn Egan. They both died in 2015. Yeah. So that option is also, looks like, off the table. But yeah, if I had 6 arms and another couple of years that I could squeeze into 1 year, you could just that's what I was thinking of doing with the mundane, is typing the whole jolly book out, scanning it, and then I could, but like you say, I can just scan the book. Although I must say the typing in that mundane astrology isn't fabulous. So it would almost be better if I typed it out, learned it as I'm going, and then ship everybody, and I'll scan the diagrams. The diagrams aren't fabulous, but we can recreate the diagrams, because the McCormack diagrams are not good at all. They're not actually, there weren't many diagrams. So David Roll put in a few diagrams, but he didn't put them in terribly well. And so I then recreated and found places where the cities were doing what McCormack said that they should be doing, and I located them where it made the most sense to me. I think we could probably do a similar exercise. And one thing I think that I'm going to sort of start with that mundane astrology book, they've got, or is it in Campion? No, I think it's in mundane astrology. There's 37 dates for the age of Aquarius ranging across, and then they kind of give their logic, and it's so interesting, just to kind of get a perspective of what astrologers were very, there isn't like, it doesn't like sort of coalesce to like one around one area. It's all over the show.
well, I read an article about that Richard Campion wrote in one of these old secondhand astrology books that I got from Laurie, I think. Sometimes people come and give them in, they were giving them into Astro or sending them. And Nicholas Campion said the age of Aquarius is actually a ridiculous idea. The whole concept of the age of Aquarius is not worth pursuing. Because because it's not like there's a distinct marker. As I recall, what he was saying was that there is no distinct marker for the age of Aquarius.
Oh, there is, because it's basically when it precesses into.
But you've just told me there's so many different dates.
Yes, it just shows how inaccurate the people are. They just dream up stuff. So I want something accurate.
Accuracy would be a fine thing.
Exactly. And accuracy, that's what Lily got. That Rod made us read Lily. Okay, he made us read one of the translations, quite an antiquated translation. And so then he got us to buy, who's that guy you like so much, Dykes. He got us to buy Benjamin Dykes' books. Well, he didn't get us. He strongly recommended. So I bought all of the Bonettis. It came in a whole like parcel, because Benjamin Dykes, you know what he does? He prints those things as you order them. So it was early days. He just started putting them out. And I bought like the whole pack of Bonetti. And then one fine day I had some time and I started to read Bonetti. And I was reading Lily. And so I realized that what Lily had done, because he could do Latin, he had translated the Latin of Bonetti. And that is what his textbook is.
Lilly did have source books that he used, but he doesn't often credit his sources. But
Oh,
at
he
the
did
same time, but at the same time, Lilly also found that he found gaps in knowledge, because I actually was reading something that he wrote. And so he said he developed his own method. And one of the things I was reading that Lilly wrote was that in his old source books that he had at the time, he couldn't find much on mundane astrology, because I don't think that at his time and in England, there were necessarily books like Bonatti and that had been that were available. Well, I'm not saying he didn't use Bonatti, but they were like these Arab ones that
yes,
died
all the
so
other ones, Abu Marsha and all those other
Yeah,
amazing
I don't think some of the books
were
or a lot
available.
were available to Lilly. So
Yeah.
he did develop his own techniques, but he did use the sources as a base. So that's why I'm busy. I'm in the process of ordering the Benjamin Dykes books. You can get them on Loot, but
Yes.
they're hellishly expensive because of the exchange rates and everything. But I've now ordered the ones that are specifically on mundane. And because I've decided that I'm going to specialize in mundane. I've also
Awesome.
got Andre Barbault's book, and he
Yes.
used totally different methods. He used various statistical methods and things like that, and he locked himself up he had the luxury of protecting himself from the world, and he never read newspapers, and he never read what was going on in the world. And he actually predicted the possibility of COVID.
Okay.
He
Amazing.
actually saw COVID. He saw a pandemic in
Yes.
our time, but he's obviously dead by now.
Yes.
But so I decided I was going to basically do what Lilly did and take whatever sources I can find that I think are reliable and put together my own stuff. And the problem in Africa is you don't have a lot of birth dates for these people, birth times for presidents and so I'm very interested in looking at the charts to get the location charts of various places combined with the stars in the sky at that particular time to see what's going on, and looking at maybe synthesizing things for myself so that I can because I mean I'm not sure how valuable Thorson's is. I haven't looked at it.
Yes, haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but
It's
I did find
it's got the world wars. They've analyzed the world wars, which are fascinating. And
But-
signatures of the world wars are very similar to what's been happening now.
Okay.
So I did that as an exercise. And what I can do, I can send you the talk because I wrote the talk out. So,
Yes.
but I wanted to actually do it on a video so that because people don't want to read screens, but I'll send you my talk because I started with Vedic time and I flew in, and I started with the Milky Way and I flew into our little section and all the rest. In fact, I started with a supercluster galaxy, which we are in, and it's the most beautiful thing. It looks like a heart. So I will send you the PDF of and anyone else who wants it. It's quite fascinating. And then I did the signatures. But I want to, before I send it, I actually want to, because what happened was I did it for a friend who was doing a day. It was called, I don't know, it was some day for therapists. And so I do her astrology. So she said, won't I just do it? But I had to talk for 20 minutes on all the stuff. So I just cut. So I first want to put back in what I took out because it's for astrologers, it's missing a whole lot of stuff. Because I just kind of had to focus on, because I did all the comparisons of the other world wars and then put this one with it. But it is a lot of similar stuff, because what happens is these things come in clusters, these big signatures. And so and if you look in our notes, you'll see that all of these things that have been happening, like the Saturn Jupiters, the Pluto Saturns and all that stuff, and the Saturn Uranuses, they all carry those epidemic signatures as well. So
Okay.
if even in our and there's a section in McCormack that I didn't actually put in because it was just all on epidemics. So I
Yeah.
can also try and get that and show you as well. But
I've got McCormack.
oh, you got it. Then squiz
Yes.
in there. We'll see. He writes even more about those epidemics, but it's part of his signatures. And I think I did try to mention it in the signature things that there would be. I think, or I know I put it in somewhere. I didn't overemphasize it. And he did give some examples with the epidemics and things. But yeah, I think, you see, McCormack was not just a weather. He was mundane and financial and weather.
Yeah.
So he was all three of those things. So, but I don't have any of his works other than the weather work. So what I should actually try and do is ask Philip Graves. I don't know him well, but I know him through Facebook because I've been on astrology forums and things. If he's got a massive library. He's got a huge library, and then there's a woman called Jennifer Zart who studied with Rod, who's got a massive library. But but anyway, I know Philip does the old stuff, so I must actually ask Philip if he hasn't got any of McCormack's mundane stuff, because I mean he died in like 1987, so the chances of the family having kept any of that is probably slim.
Yeah.
And this little book that the McCormack book, I think he put out 40 or 50 of these hand typed sheets that old David Roll got and put into the book form. So we were just jolly lucky, because treasure trove. It's an absolute treasure trove, in my opinion.
Well, I found Thorson's in Russian in probably some dubious part of the internet, but if it's a pirated thing, you can always rely on the Russians to produce. But then I translated it from using Google, as I said in my SMS or WhatsApp.
Yes.
But it's like it's a bit scrambled.
Yeah, it's hard because they do it literal. It's hard to read. Yeah. But Anila, I will do my utmost to get that mundane thing sorted. And well, I've got to get the scanner. That's the first thing. So I will start looking around on Monday and see where I can find a reason. Well, where I can source a local reasonably priced scanner. As I say, I need it for my own stuff. So I mean, if anyone's happy to pay just a little bit in, that'll be fabulous. And because my coffers aren't great, because I paid for my chirology course, which is quite expensive, and I bought a few other things, like I bought a new camera for giving the present, because I had an ancient old camera, and then the sound, and every time I switched the thing on, then the sound wouldn't work, and then this wouldn't work. So I thought, you know what, I'm sick and tired of it, and I went and bought a proper, camera for the Zoom that Zoom recognizes the sound and the camera all in one, because invariably it would just the camera would work, or just the sound would work, and it would be a nightmare to try and fiddle around to force it to use this little old there's a little round thing that sat on the computer. So yeah, I've kind of spent a lot of my budget on. And then I also did silly things when Laurie said, "Oh, why do you spend all that money, getting all the cloud space?" I had 100 gigs. I mean, I never in a million years use 100 gigs. So that's, and then, but you learn as you go. Like I saw my friend whose husband is a videographer. I mean, he's like a TV camera producer thing, whatever. I don't understand that whole world. And she uses Vimeo. So I thought, well, let me check out Vimeo, and it's fabulous. It's easy to use, easy to set up, because I can specify who's allowed to see it. I can make it public. I can make things, just if you've got the link, I can make things embeddable or not. So it's just such a sweet program. And I mean, I wouldn't have thought to use Vimeo in a million years. So
sorry to interrupt, Karen. It's quite late, and all my family are really starting to get upset. So I'm going to have to go.
No, Laurie,
Okay.
lots of
And
love.
just to let you know, I love the weather, but I'm not a mundane astrologer.
Okay.
I prefer people. Okay. As I've always said to Debbie, that's her field, and I think it's amazing, but it's not mine. I don't
Cool.
even enjoy politics. Okay, lots of love. Bye. And
Bye.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye, Debbie. Bye, Shona.
Bye. Bye, Laurie.
Bye. Bye, Laurie.
You know, it's nice to have all of us doing different things. Why not? Why shouldn't we all be doing? But I am keen to do mundane. So if you want to, you know, work with me, or we kind of like bounce ideas with each other, I'm very happy to do that, Debbie, because yeah, I love doing natal, and I love the weather, but I'm always been fascinated by what's happening. Not that I'm apolitical. I don't actually really care too much. I just want people to be caring to people, but I would like to be able to see what the dynamic is, you know. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I'm not a political animal either. In fact, I detest politics.
Hmm.
But I do find world events interesting, and not only from a geopolitical perspective, but also from a terrestrial perspective. That's why I'm interested in the earthquakes and the volcanoes and the you know, the geological side.
Exactly, because
Mm.
because we're all part of this unit. I mean, we are sitting on this living planet. It's living. I mean, I don't care what people say. I think this is a living planet.
Yes.
Living life, you know, we're one of the life forces. We've got more consciousness than a lot of the other life forces. If we want to have that consciousness, otherwise we can be more dull than the other life, you know, the other life forms. But we have the potential to be so aware. So like, yeah, no, for sure. And so, I think the more, like, I mean, when you read these mystic people, like, everything they see the divine in everything, like the
Yes.
roses, the rivers. In India, they call a Ganges river Gangama, and
Yes.
she's seen as this beautiful woman with long blue tresses, and they draw her on like walls and that in like Rishikesh and above, because Rishikesh and above is very sacred territory. It's like where the very, very wise mystic people have always hung out for
Yes.
thousands and thousands of years. And so the reverence for nature there is just beautiful. And I mean, can you, and so the rivers are like revered as living beings. And I
Yes.
just think that is gorgeous. They're not just this like resource that you
Yes.
can like suck out of the ground like Nestle do, and just
Yes.
trash all your chemicals in like Bayer does. You know, they pretty much trashed the Rhine, because they just dumped all the stuff from all the CDs and whatever they were making. So they just dumped all the toxic stuff somewhere in the river because it was cheaper. I mean, let's not find a way to kind of like detox the stuff before we get rid of it, you know? So yeah, so definitely, I think I'm pretty much on your page with the reverence for, and you know, the light from stars is, I mean, it's light. I mean, what do we long for? We long for the light. I mean, when that sun rises in the morning, you know, it's a new day. It's so, and I mean, those other stars, they are suns. So light is critical. And so why shouldn't the starlight and the star patterns and as I say, I'll show you that picture of it's called the Laniakea supercluster. And it's magnificent. It's this like heart-shaped cluster of galaxies, in which our Milky Way is a dot. And then what I did, I went from the Laniakea supercluster, I went down to Carl Sagan's pale blue dot, you know, where the one of the space missions was looking back. I think it was one of the early ones, and it photographed this pale blue dot, which just was Earth. So, you know, I mean, it's those I find those perspectives just gorgeous, because And I mean, why, like for an eclipse to happen, the sun and the moon are not the same size. It's that exact ratio that the one blocks the other out. And actually, it's moving apart. So we're going to get less and less total eclipses because it's slightly expanding. And as it does so, the moon's not going to be able to block the sun totally anymore. But I think
my idea is also to combine horary with mundane, because I did Laurie's horary course, and I did enjoy horary, but I'm not interested in people. I'm interested in using horary to so for instance, if you're seeing something potentially in a mundane chart, then maybe you can narrow things down by asking specific horary questions. Yes.
Why not? Because you're asking. That's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah. The divine.
So that's kind of my game plan. But like I said, I'm very, very far from it, and I unfortunately still have to do other kinds of work for a living. So
it's still a part-time.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why I've decided to narrow my focus down as much as I can, because I mean, you can just get too scattered with everything if you don't have some kind of endpoint in mind.
Exactly. And I mean, like you say, a big chunk of your time is vocational.
Yes.
Not astrology. So so you've got to be very specific on the rest of it so that you can get.
Yes, I have to budget my time.
Absolutely. I believe time is far more precious than money. It's like a super commodity, I think. And so what we do with it is critical. And so many people don't even know that. I find that sort of, they'll just waste time. And I'm like, why are you going to do it? But yeah, so that's how I see things. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to budget time so carefully, because it's a gift. And we only have so much time, and then shoops, it's done. So it's important. Yeah. Oh well. Any other questions, queries?
No, I think I'm done. Thank you very much for the course. I did enjoy it. And I'm sure I'll be using things that I learned to further my mundane studies.
Awesome.
And I am interested in the weather, but I'm interested in, big weather events as opposed to.
Exactly. So more articles. Debbie, your article was amazing. So whatever catches your fancy, because eventually we could even put together a weather astrology journal. Like they've got all these other journals. And then we could like eventually make a mundane and with just a weather section in it, and then mundane as well. Because I know Charmaine is also interested in the mundane, probably a bit more on the financial side. But you have to kind of do it all to be able to do that financial side, because that's also quite tricky stuff. It's also deep, you've got to do the whole picture to get it accurate. Otherwise you can just do it Mickey Mouse and you won't get the accuracy. So mundane is so broad, but certainly if you want to write any more articles, and even if you just initial them, Debbie, because I know you mentioned that you got your reservations about you don't want to.
I have my reservations about appearing in public on film and video.
For sure.
But I mean, I don't mind writing. I don't mind
putting your name. So then I would say anything else that catches your fancy, please write it. And then I'm going to start collecting and making a journal, because it's fabulous. I mean, and you know what? People love these articles, even because we're writing for the lay person in English. And there is an innate fascination for all these big events. People, because they don't understand them. And so if we can provide insights into the fact that the heavens kind of reflected that and explained it, they find that absolutely very fascinating. Even the skeptics find that fascinating. So I mean, McCormack, he actually had so much confidence, but you see, that comes later. He had so much confidence, he put his stuff in mainstream newspaper. He he sent his stuff off to journalists to say, warn about this is going to happen. And so, but I think to start first, let's build up a library of these, because I've got about 6 or 7 of those like weather events that I've already done, maybe a few more, but not polished. I haven't done them to the same kind of, I just kind of done them to put into talks and things, which isn't the same as doing a very nice article the way you and Nari have done. But I can get myself focused there as well. But yeah, so any more major weather, that, because, and also, didn't you find that you learned an enormous amount from finding that signature? Wasn't that fabulous? I mean, I get so thrilled when I found those signatures.
Yes, no, I was very impressed. I wasn't sure whether I should flip it because, like I said, it was so close to the equator, and I thought, well, I'll do it without flipping it and see. But then I was aware it was slightly below the equator, so I did look at the southern hemisphere for the declination charts. But yes, I was very fascinated to see all the signatures.
Isn't it beautiful? I mean, because in the beginning I was thinking, oh, Corin, what on earth are you doing? And then when the signatures started, because I'd studied it, but I still was like waffling around. And when you're just doing the predictions, for the season, it doesn't tell you a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
But when I did these big events and I saw the signatures, I thought, okay, now here is something really special. And you know what Nathan was saying to me, like, because he's an engineer. He was an engineer. He's now full-time Vedic, but he was a petrochemical engineer. And so he's got engineering friends that are completely like agnostic, or atheistic, and they are so fascinated. They're saying to him, like, show us. We want to see how this astrology works with a weather event. So he said to them all this, hold your horses, I'm only on lesson 1. But he was saying, that there is a body of people out there who don't want any kind of woofy-doofy mythology thrown at them like the evolutionaries and that do. They want to know facts. They want to know, like, Pluto was here at a 90 degree to Saturn and this happened, and that they want that objective signature. And then they will start to pay a little bit of attention. And that, for me, is what these classical storms do. We are creating objective signatures. I mean, we don't change the sky. We are reading the sky. We put our declination map out there and then we show them. It's like when that flood was going on in British Columbia, and on the Oprah website, a hell of a nice lady from Canada. And she mentioned it. And I hadn't even heard of it because I've been so busy. And then I just quickly flipped open the declination, and there it was. The moon went out of bounds, and it was paralleling this and this and this and this. And then I just quickly, I did some other quick stuff. And like in like 5-10 minutes, I could see a signature, and I said to her, like, this and this and this. But they were quite, I was allowed to post in there because someone had started a thread about the British Columbia floods.
Yes.
Then they didn't just delete all my stuff. She was fascinated, and I think she was more of a natal astrologer, but she was much broader than the general Oprah people. And so she sent me off to some other lady who is a mundane. I must actually send you the link. This lady does mundane, but she's quite wacky. She believes she's from, I'm not sure which star system.
The lady.
Star system, but she does predictions and all that stuff. And she is. I think she's also I think she's an astrologer. Yes, she does mundane astrology, is an astrologer. And she, like the astrolocality, the solar maps.
Yeah.
She does a hell of a lot of that. She's got her own interesting map. It's not like our solar map. She must have some different system that she works on. So I will dig up that her website and send it to you. She's quite a character.
Okay.
So it was such a lovely lady, and she was so interested and so unlike old Mr. Maurice.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
you think he was so closed. I couldn't believe how closed-minded, hey? But
yes.
like Laurie was saying, he is pushing an agenda, in which case he is kind of pushing like the evolutionary propaganda, and I'm really not interested. I want people who can think, because I want to think. You know,
Yes.
like you, Debbie, like I don't want to, and all of us actually, I think everybody on this course is doing it because they're open-minded enough, and you want to look at the sky and understand more. How can it tell us, you know, there has to be some kind of open-mindedness.
Yes.
Once you start like going, this is the only thing. I mean, he has decided what he put, like there was a question for the month, and his comment on the question for the month is, there is only the northern tropical zodiac. That's it. That's the only zodiac. And I'm going, and that's when I started arguing with him.
Yes.
And I mean, MJ, because I want to get in touch with her. She has done a whole research, and she's found 26 different zodiacs so far.
Yes.
So she's she's got a master's in education. She's a fascinating lady. Master's in education. She's the global representative for Canada. She does she must have some Gemini somewhere, because she does lots of things. But she's got a lovely website. I've been to her website. And what she does, she also tries to build, she's building a community. So on her website, she's got various teachers, and you can do various things, you know.
Okay.
So he basically like hosts people who teach stuff that's like a little bit different from what she's teaching, you know. So I've got a lot of respect for that. So she's trying to kind of build up Canadian astrologers who are interested in sharing what they know. And I think that's pretty lovely. And she's a computer programmer as well. I think she's a DOS, kind of like DOS and all those old fashioned, because she knows Ray White really well. You know, he's the guy that because that Stephanie Johnson owned Solarfire, and then she sold it to Ray White and Madeline Hills Deneen, or whatever her name is. And so she's out of it because she's writing the program for Mac. So I don't, do you use Mac, Debbie?
Yeah, I do.
So apparently that's because Rod has bought that new Astro Gold, because you get the Astro Gold for the phones, but now she's written an actual Solarfire like equivalent, but I think it's still under development. So
no, I've got Sirius and I've got Solarfire, and I bought Sirius when I started doing natal with Laurie sort of shortly, and Sirius is very, very expensive.
Yes.
Compared to Solarfire, it costs more than double what Solarfire costs. So I'm quite happy with Solarfire and Sirius at the moment.
It's a good program. I've got Kepler and I've got Matrix. Because my first teacher was all about Kepler, Dr. Dyson, and then my next teacher, Noel Till, he liked Matrix, which is a guy called, very fascinating guy as well. He also hugely eclectic astrologer and musician and a whole lot of things. He wrote that program, and Rod Suskinelli went to work for him. And then they looked at Rod Suskin's relocated chart, because I'm born on the 7th of the 7th, 63. Rod Suskin's born on the 1st of the 1st, 63. So we've got similar configurations, you know, of like, I mean, obviously the moons and things are moved, but the big old planets are in similar places. And where this guy is, what is his name? Michael. God, I can't think of names today. Anyway, where this Michael dude who wrote Matrix lives, Rod Suskin's relocated chart has got Saturn on the midheaven, like hectically close. And they all looked at this relocated, because Rod Susskind was super excited about working with this dude. And when they saw that, they just said to him, you know, he realized, and they said, like, this is going to be a heavy place. Because that's my chart. I have got Saturn sitting on the midheaven.
So do I.
Not hectically on the midheaven, but my midheaven in Northern Tropicals Aquarius, and Saturn, 12 Aquarius is my midheaven, and 22 is my Saturn.
Yeah.
So, and it's heavy stuff.
I'm also born in 1963, and I also have Saturn very close to my midheaven.
Interesting, Debbie. That's so fascinating.
And Saturn is my nemesis of note, let me tell you.
I know. Don't tell me. I know about it. And you see, that's why for me, you see, but for you, you've definitely you've achieved more of the Northern Tropical, because Saturn in Aquarius is distinguished. And so you have achieved a distinguished career and so on, and you.
Yeah, but if I had been in the Northern Hemisphere, it's still muted in the Southern Hemisphere. Let me put it this way.
Okay, I hear you.
Because if I had been myself in the Northern Hemisphere, given what my work history and what I've done,
Yes,
I would have been much more recognized.
I get you. Yes. Now I'm the opposite. I mean, I've done so many things. I never ever knew what I wanted to do. I had all the tests done. I had, because I got good marks. I mean, I can think. I can't. My memory's not fabulous, but that's also related to like family dramas. So. In my like sort of from the age of, I don't know, 10 until whenever, till 48. So now my parents are gone, and I can kind of, I'm a freer now. So I feel as though like the energy is opening up a little bit with the parents having exited the stage. And, but geez, like when I left school, I enrolled for fine art at Wits, agrometeorology at Natal, biochemistry at UCT, and then I fell in love with a guy in PE. So I went to UPE and I did the most horrible BSc, and I had to do maths and statistics. I did maths and statistics and God, I don't know, something else, but maths and statistics were in Afrikaans, and I cannot do maths in Afrikaans because, my thinking goes in English. And so I left after a month. I said, and I'd won a bursary to UPE because I got decent marks for my matric. And I said to my mother, that's it. And I hated it. UPE was gray. Everything is in gray concrete now. Gray doesn't suit me one tiny bit. I don't quite know why, but I just hate that color. So I hated the campus. My teachers were from that, not AWB, there was an organization of Afrikaans academics. And they even translated the textbook. So I had even the textbook wasn't in English, it was in goddamn Afrikaans. And then they were in their safari suits. And, they were the most awful people. I really didn't like them. So I just left. And then my mother didn't know what to do with me. So she sent me to the technical college, because if you leave like in February, March, what the hell do you do with a kid? And she didn't have money to send me overseas or anything, like on a gap year. So she just sent me to the technical college to do typing and shorthand and she booked for a public relations mini course. She sent me on that. And then I just worked for a while, and then I went back and I did a pharmacy thing, and then I got fed. Ethics is my nemesis. So like I was doing fine in my pharmacy, and then I discovered that Bayer and them were doing like horrible things, and I can't remember which of the big companies, but I've always been quizzy as to what's going on. So I picked that up and I thought, no, I can't be a pharmacist. So then I switched back, and I was back at UPE because of course I lived in PE and my parents weren't well off or anything. So then I went back to doing a BSc, and it was just horrible. and then I left after like the middle of second year. You know, good marks and all, but and then also, but of course we had financial problem. My dad lost his job and my mother couldn't afford this, and so I'm just going to go and get a job. And then I kind of just worked my way up, you know, doing that kind of thing. So yeah, I think if I'd gone and done agrometeorology at the University of Pietermaritzburg, I would have done well, but I didn't. So what can you do?
Yeah. No, but you can't, you have your path is set for you because that's what your chart is. It's your contract. So you can't say coulda, woulda, shoulda.
No, and that's a thing, you see, because for me, that's why that Saturn is correct in Leo, like the Southern Tropical. It's more accurate than having a Saturn in Aquarius, because I mean, honest to God, here I am at 58 and I'm kind of finding my groove for the first time. So, you know, I mean, certainly the astrology, like when I was 40, I had like a massive crisis because I did books. And then I worked for these very rich men in Durban. My husband, because I knew him before, but he moved to Durban, and then I moved to Durban, and then we got married. I was friends with him for 5 years before I married him, but I worked for these incredibly rich British. They're expats, you know, they were like third generation, but they were crooked. And so I asked my spiritual teacher, they were building like a development, and he said to me, write out this check, and he was diddling 3 partners with another partner, and I knew it was and it was for like R1 million.
Yeah.
So I did it very reluctantly, and I said, you know, I don't want to do this. He said, well, you have to, because that's your job. Anyway, so I asked my teacher, because I went off to India, asked him, and he said, if you know it's wrong, you're going to bear half the karma. So then I came back home and I resigned. And then I tried to do various other things, and that didn't work. And then I found old Dr. Dice and the astrologer, and that's when but it was when I had Saturn, I had the Neptune square, I think. And, you know, at the midlife thing, when you've got Neptune going on and Uranus going on and Pluto going on, and I had 2 of them happening at the same time. And and she could, because I blamed myself. I thought, oh my God, I've really like messed up my whole life now, got no career. Going forward was terrible. Going back was terrible. I don't know what to do. But this lady was just so amazing, and she explained the astrology. And so for me, you know, I know the value, because it kind of like saved my mind, because I blamed myself. And then when I saw it in the sky and she explained it, then I thought, then I stopped blaming myself and I could kind of get on with life. And you know, then I said to her, I have to learn this. So then, but as I say, it was such tea party astrology it was. And then she said, no, Rod Suskin and this and that. And so then I looked for teachers, and then I found Noel Till and did like most of his course. But with him, you had to be a parrot. You had to use his words. And like, I don't want to be a parrot. So I loved Rod. So I left his stuff and I went on with Rod, because Rod wanted you to have your own voice. And I loved that. So from there, anyway, I'm waffling. But yeah, lekker. So yeah, so I hope everybody has a wonderfully happy holiday time. I hope, you know, we're in for some hectic time with the Saturn Uranus. Hey, we've got to brace ourselves a bit and kind of be. I think I'm gonna just try and be kind of more quiet, I think, over this time, because I think it's good. We're going to see some interesting stuff unfold, weather-wise and also mundane. I mean, it's a great time to be doing mundane, Debbie, because there's a lot of patterns up there that are unfolding. Hey?
Yeah. No, I'm very interested in getting into it.
Lekker. Well,
I was hoping to have a bit of a quiet time this festive season or the holiday season, but it looks like there is work on the horizon. So
you mean you're going to have to work over the holidays?
Yeah, I know, because I'm self-employed.
Okay.
I can't turn down work.
Indeed. Sure. Oh, well, All the best. I hope they don't give you too much work. Not for this time. Make it up in the new year.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Okay.
Charmaine,
Well,
Karen, Debbie, oh, thank you, Karen. I'm here. I've been listening and I've been enjoying our, well, the class as well as the chats afterwards. It's been wonderful. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for the call. I enjoyed the call so much. Yeah, let me put my camera on. Yeah, so I just want to say thank you, and thank you to Debbie as well. You guys are such seasoned astrologers. So
no,
I'm still a baby in
I'm
astrology.
no, I'm a beginner. I'm still very much a student.
but you've got a very astute mind, Debbie. You've got a very astute mind. You're very clear, and that's fabulous. You know, we can all learn from your clarity.
Yes, no, it's true.
Debbie's assignments,
No,
when Debbie's
definitely, Debbie.
assignments, they're like so clear, Charmaine.
Mm,
Like I actually want to use Debbie's templates
yes,
in the future. I'm going to say to the students, like, I would like you to submit it in this format because your formats are
that
fabulous.
format. Yes.
Thank
So-
you.
No, Debbie, and even when you speak astrology, you speak it very well. So I wouldn't have thought that you were a beginner. So thank you. It's been great being in this group of students. And thank you,
lovely,
Karen. You're an amazing teacher.
but
So
we've had a
patient with us.
But it's also the people, you know, we've just had a really lovely group. And I also have learned I have to teach astrologers. Or if I'm going to teach people who've got no astrology, I'm going to do like a 6-week intensive. I cannot just teach people who know nothing because they're going to, those first 3 lessons when everybody was like gasping for air, you know, a person with no background would be dying. So there has to be like a bridge. So that I've learned because I thought in the beginning I could just teach it from scratch. So that was my kind of misjudgment. So I've learned from that. And also I'm going to warn people. I'm going to say, listen here, these first 3 lectures are hectic. So brace yourselves and it gets easier. And, you know, so I'm going to prepare people because, you know, my husband always says, because he was a lecturer, he says there's like a familiarity factor. When you've done it so much, you don't realize what curve someone coming in is going to have to be on, and you don't appreciate that. So that's what I've learned from you guys, because I mean, I think you mentioned that, Debbie, and I know Laurie was like tearing her hair out at certain times, and she'd say, oh no, Karen, I don't know what on earth's going on, and now she's amazing, you know, she's really got it. And so it's I think, how did you find it in the beginning, Charmaine? Was it also a bit hectic for you?
There was a lot of information, but it was still, no, it was good. It's still, it wasn't that bad, if I could say that. Yes, there was a lot, especially the sun and the moon. There is a lot of information, but it's but I'm enjoying it because you look at these planets and where they're sitting and what they're doing. You have it very clear. You know, your instructions and your notes are very clear. As to, go into this and just it's very helpful.
I was actually thinking when I call it word, I thought I'll call it astrology you can feel, because you can literally go out there and feel what Pluto and Venus together feel like, you know. So
yes. No, that's true. That's true. Oh, and yes, please do include me in the scan, the chipping for the scan. Yes, I'm in.
Oh,
and yes.
So let's see what interesting future lies ahead with our because we basically are the 3 mundanes. I think Sue Gautier is also interested in the mundane stuff. So so it's going to be interesting to see where and maybe how it all going to work out going forward. But lekker. So thanks everybody. It's been such fun.
Thank you. Been great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Have lovely holidays.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, recording.